radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Good evening. Fade to Black. Bespoke Radio. For the masses. Yeah, man. How you doing? Today's Monday, March 16th, 2020. 76 days into the new year, only 290 days left. We are live from a bunker. That's right. A bunker somewhere in the middle of beautiful downtown Burbank, California. And I would like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States. Hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south. Far and near. This is Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, the planet. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. That's right. What is cracking, everybody? How you doing? How you doing? I know it's crazy out there around the world, but tonight the show must go on. And we're going to do that with very special guest, Dr. Stephen Greer. Dr. Greer is here to talk about his new film, Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind. I have seen it twice. I have. It is an amazing film. We'll be talking about that tonight. Tomorrow night, we are going to have a Fade or Not Community Coronavirus Town Hall. That's what we're going to do tomorrow night. We'll be taking your calls. We'll be answering your questions, your concerns, and find out what everybody is doing across the country. We're going to do that tomorrow night. All right? Community service message. Wednesday night, Lori Spagna. Get ready for that. Lori Spagna is going to be here Wednesday night. Awakening. That'll be Wednesday. Thursday night is another Fader night with open lines all night long. That's going to be 4 days from now. 4. All right? 4. Where are we going to be by Thursday night? Holy crap. All right. Yeah, more on that in just a minute. Also, quick update. I will be hosting Coast to Coast AM this weekend. I will be standing in on Friday night. I'll have a special guest and open lines. And, of course, Saturday night. So I'll be hosting Coast this weekend. Come and hang out with me over at Coast to Coast AM. I'll start making more announcements about all of that as we move along throughout the week. You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. That's what you do. You start right there at JChurchRadio. Man. I always say I'm a big social media guy. This weekend in social media was absolute insanity. And wow. Okay, but you can follow me over at Twitter at JChurchRadio. Okay, hashtag F2B on Twitter is our sandbox. That's where we play all night long. You can come and join the conversation in real time. I've got it in front of me. I'm scrolling through it as I say that. Hashtag F2B. Hashtag F2BQ is Fade to Black Questions. And right there, yes, Sarah Ann already with hashtag F2BQ. Yes, that's where you post Fade to Black questions. Okay? All right. Let's see. Oh, any other further correspondence, you can hit me at jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. That's my email. And I get to as many of those during the show as I can. All right? And we have 2 chat rooms open, one over at Spreaker, one over at KGRA, The Planet. It's crazy out there, I understand. And the breaking news today, over the last couple of weeks, I've been going through the headlines around the world. I'm going to do that again right now. And it's crazy. And I think it's going to get crazier before it starts to get uncrazy. And certainly today it started with the stock market because the Dow recorded its worst one-day drop in history and its worst performance on a percentage basis since October 19th, 1987, and that was known as Black Monday. The Dow closed today down 2,999 points, or 12.9% lower. And that is just shocking. Okay, so let me get to the rest of the headlines. Regal Cinemas will close its theaters until further notice. Tom Hanks and Rita Wilson have left the hospital in Australia after their coronavirus diagnosis and are now self-quarantined. Georgia will close all public schools starting this Wednesday. An Ohio judge allows the state to move presidential primary to June. NASCAR postpones all races through May 3rd. Los Angeles County Sheriff released 600 inmates today early due to coronavirus concerns. Saturday Night Live suspends production until further notice. All schools in New York ordered closed by Wednesday. McDonald's USA will close seating in areas in all of its restaurants and only have its drive-through service open. Bars to close and restaurant services to be limited in Kentucky. U.S. airports are seeking $10 billion in government assistance to offset losses spurred by the coronavirus outbreak. SoulCycle and Flywheel Sports close all of their studios nationwide. Amazon, the one bright spot in all of this, Amazon will fill 100,000 new positions due to a surge in online orders. Louisiana is closing all bars, clubs, casinos, movie theaters, and gyms until April 13th. Washington, D.C. orders restaurants, bars, and clubs to close by 10 p.m. today until April 1st. Switzerland bans all events. Every shop, restaurant, bar, and all recreational areas will remain closed until April 19th. Nearly 7 million San Francisco Bay Area residents are ordered to shelter in place. Pennsylvania closes state liquor stores indefinitely. Sudan has closed its borders. France closes its borders and bans all family and social gatherings. Russia will close its borders to foreigners this Wednesday. Ohio closes gyms, movie theaters, bowling alleys, movie theaters, recreational centers, and indoor water parks. Lufthansa will reduce flight schedules up to 90%. New York's Statue of Liberty closes indefinitely. Actor Idris Elba announced today that he has tested positive for the coronavirus. He did that on Twitter. Major League Baseball pushes back opening day indefinitely. Canada will deny entry to anyone who isn't a citizen or permanent resident. They further announced that it doesn't include United States citizens. More than 3,000 new coronavirus cases were reported in Italy in the last 24 hours. Flights and trains suspended between Portugal and Spain as Spain shuts down its land borders. Hungary will close its borders to foreigners at midnight tonight. The United Arab Emirates, the country has suspended tourist visas and cultural activities. In Qatar, only nationals are permitted entry into the country. Lebanon, the government has announced a 2-week lockdown banning public and private gatherings and closing all commercial companies except for those that produce food. In Iraq, authorities announced a 6-day curfew yesterday. In Morocco, suspending all international flights to and from its territory until further notice. Turkey closes cafes and gyms. Minnesota orders closures of restaurants, bars, and other public places until March 27th. Los Angeles will stop issuing parking tickets for the next 2 weeks. Colombia will close its borders today through May 30th, and all Social Security offices in the United States will close in-person services starting tomorrow. Absolutely incredible. And I'm going to say this. That was about half of the headlines that I could have read. The world has been tipped upside down. Now, I want to further the conversation here because last Thursday, our last broadcast for the week, Thursday night, Fader night, which was March 12th, these were the coronavirus numbers at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. At that time, 4 days ago, the worldwide coronavirus cases were at 134,679, with deaths at 4,973, recovered 69,142. Now, at that time, 4 days ago, there were 60,564 active cases worldwide, and 5,994, about 10%, were considered serious or critical, and 54,570 were considered mild conditions. As of today, Monday, March 16th at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, the worldwide coronavirus cases had jumped to 182,383. Deaths are now at 7,144 and recovered 78,342. The numbers have nearly doubled. There are 96,897 active cases worldwide and 6,163, down to 6%, are considered serious or critical. This is very important. 90,734 cases, 94%, are considered mild conditions. So the numbers, although doubled, have actually decreased and are moving downward. Okay, have we started to see a level off? We shall see. Okay, and we will continue to not only report the real news, but keep these numbers accurate. The media has decided not to present this side of the coronavirus. We will. Okay, and we will continue this tomorrow night with our Fader night, Fade or Not, Coronavirus Town Hall. Okay, let's get this show cracking. Happy birthday to Jimmy Nail. Today is 66 years old. Starred in the film Still Crazy. He was amazing in that film. If you haven't seen it, you need to check it out. Still Crazy, great film. Guitar goddess Nancy Wilson today is 66. And drummer Jimmy DeGrasso is 56. Man, he's played with everybody. Megadeth, Lita Ford, Ozzy Osbourne, Dokken, David Lee Roth. Drummer Jimmy DeGrasso today is 56 years old. Our dead guy's birthday today is Jerry Lewis, 1926 to 2017, died at the age of 91. Of course, he was a comedian, actor, singer, filmmaker, and humanitarian. Dubbed as the King of Comedy, he gained his career breakthrough together with singer Dean Martin, becoming Martin and Lewis in 1946, and they performed together for 10 years. He starred in over 60 films and 60 television show appearances, not including all of his TV series that he did. And of course, he hosted the Jerry Lewis MDA Labor Day Telethon for many years, raising over $2.6 billion for the cause. Jerry died at his home in Las Vegas, Nevada on August 20th, 2017. At the age of 91. Happy birthday, Jerry Lewis. On this day in history, OTD, 1926. Robert H. Goddard successfully launches the world's first liquid fuel rocket at Auburn, Massachusetts. Fader fact. Here you go. Just for the coronavirus. Before toilet paper. Before toilet paper. Ancient Romans used a sponge on the end of a long stick that was shared by everyone in the community. When not in use, the stick stayed in a bucket of heavily salted seawater in the communal bathroom. And that is your Fader fact. Tonight we have very special guest. Dr. Stephen Greer is here. We're going to be talking about his new film, Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind. Tomorrow night, we're going to have a Fader Not Community Coronavirus Town Hall. We'll be taking your calls all night. I do want to hear from all of you. Wednesday night, Lori Spagna is here. Looking forward to that conversation. And Thursday is another Fader night with open lines all night long. Now, let me hit this River Moon coffee. rivermooncoffee.com. Oh, man, it's the best coffee in the world. Fade to Black Blend. Use the promo code F2B Blend. That's F, the number 2, B, Blend. F2B Blend is the promo code. You will get 15% off of your entire order today. All right? Just click on the banners over at jimmychurchradio.com. I'm going to hit this coffee again. All right. First off, I want to say to everyone out there, on behalf of all of us here at Fade to Black, that no matter what, we hope that you are safe, your family is safe, and I want you to know that we put our community first. You are always in our thoughts. And with that said, the show must go on for everybody. We know that there are many more of you out there who are at home, sheltering in place and practicing social distancing and spending time with us and hanging out here on the show means so much to us. So our thoughts are always with you. We want you to know that. But we are facing two different things here at Fade to Black. We know that the world has been tipped upside down and we can't ignore it. So tomorrow night, we're going to have a little Fade to Black Town Hall. We're going to take your calls. We're going to try to answer your questions. And, of course, we're going to see how all of you are doing around the country and around the world and all of that. So that's going to be tomorrow night. And I'll try to get to your questions and try to answer them the best that I can. But, and there's always a but, Fade to Black is still Fade to Black. And tonight, we have Dr. Stephen Greer with us to talk about his new film, Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind. The premiere of the film was supposed to take place next month here in Los Angeles, but it has been postponed. But the show must go on. Dr. Greer is here. Later this week on Wednesday, Lori Spagna is here. I'll say it again. The show must go on. We will still report the news, and we'll keep everyone informed the best that we can. The world is going through some very real changes. And these things that I thought that I would never talk about, I'm forced into talking about. But the situation is real. Like my broken chair here in the studio. I'm not sure if an asteroid hitting the Earth would be as big of a thing. And I mean that seriously because, well, it would depend on the size of the rock, of course. But you know what I'm getting at. And again, it's not coronavirus that I'm concerned about. It's not. It's not the coronavirus. It's not my family getting it. It's not me getting it. I don't think we're going to get it. Because we have always maintained a steady vitamin and supplement daily intake around here. That's what we do. And we've been doing that for years. It's the economic crush that really freaks me out. And this is where I want everybody to calm down for a second. Because I want you to understand something. That we're going to get through this. We will. It's not like this is something physical. It's not. We don't have to rebuild the planet in a couple of months after the aftermath of a nuclear war and an asteroid strike. It's not that kind of party. And the coronavirus, it's going to run its course, and it will end. All right? When it's all over, hopefully we will have learned some very important lessons, and we will have the knowledge to deal with this type of situation better in the future. Because it will happen again, right? Next time around, we'll take it more seriously. We just weren't ready. That's that, all right? And I realize that saying this stuff doesn't help millions of people who are probably going to be out of work and wondering what they're going to do, but I do feel that this country, this planet, will come together and it will make sure that we all get through this. All of us. Earlier today, well, you know what, even I open the show each night with that quote from Ronald Reagan that he did about aliens at the United Nations, right? And imagine that we would forget all of our something from outside this world, right? Okay, you remember that quote, and you know the meaning behind that quote. In a weird way, that quote applies to what we are going through right now. This is the time, finally, right, where we will look to our brothers and sisters around this planet and realize that we are all in this together, man, and we got to work this out together. All that other crap doesn't mean anything. It really doesn't. All of our differences, there is a silver lining here. And I really feel that. I really do. I really do. Earlier today, I ventured out to pick up some eggs. I did. Simple, right? You know, we're out of eggs, and I like eggs. Rita likes eggs. We like eggs and bacon and sausage and toasted bread with strawberry jam and butter. We like those things, right? So every week I venture out and I pick up eggs. I do that. I buy some eggs. Not today. It was nuts. It was nuts. Now, I want you to hear everything that I have to say because there's a weird ending to this. I went to 3 stores. The first one out of stock. Second store had about 20 cars waiting to park in an already jammed parking lot. So I skipped that one. And I got to the third, a major supermarket that is close to our home. And when I entered, I couldn't believe what I saw. I couldn't believe it. The produce, when you first walk in, you see the produce section off to your left. It was virtually picked clean, right? The entire bread aisle empty of absolutely everything. I'm talking about bread and hot dog and hamburger buns, bagels, every Hostess pie. I wanted an apple Hostess pie. If I did, couldn't buy one. All gone. The entire row empty. Okay? I was able to buy fresh baked bread as it came out of the oven. I had to fight for it too. But I did get a couple loaves of bread, fresh baked. Came home with that. It was nuts. You know, of course, water, soft drinks, Gatorade, all gone. Meat, all gone. The deli counter, the butcher counter closed. All meat, chicken, pork, beef, everything cleaned out. But they did have bacon. Lots of it. So I bought 2 packs of bacon, right? I went down the frozen food section, totally picked clean. All of the frozen foods were gone. Pizzas, chicken, tacos, burritos, anything with Stouffer's on the label. Pizza rolls, Hot Pockets. Everything is gone. I did buy the last frozen silk chocolate pie, though, in the entire aisle. I did it just because, right? It was all that was left, so I bought that. Canned foods, forget it. Rice, gone. Flour, gone. And so I left the store with 2 packages of bacon, 2 loaves of fresh baked bread, and 1 chocolate French silk frozen pie. That's what I got. And I get home and I got a call from Paul Andrews from Contact in the Desert. And I told him about my little shopping spree. It was hilarious. Frozen pie, 2 packs of bacon. He laughed and said that up where he is, he's up north near San Francisco, everything is normal. He was shopping today, and the whole market was stocked to the gills. And he said it was like nothing was going on. And in a strange way, it made me feel better. And that's why I'm sharing this story with you. I may be going through some panic here in the valley, but most of the country is still clearly on the normal side of things. Right? And I wish I were there. I'm not. But we're here and we got to make the best of it. I'll share my visit to Costco over the weekend with you tomorrow. And yes, it appeared to be the end of days, and I've got pictures to prove it. But I did get some paper towels. It's all going to be okay. All right, everybody, it's going to be just fine. I think. And I'll see everybody tomorrow for our coronavirus town hall. Germany says hello. New York City, South Carolina. Seriously, all right, I'm not making light of everybody's situation. I am not going to do that. The world is different today than it was yesterday. I understand that, but the show must go on. All right? All right. So tonight, Dr. Stephen Greer is here. We are going to talk about his new film, Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind. Tomorrow night, we're going to have our Fade or Not Community Coronavirus Town Hall. Wednesday night, Lori Spani is here. Thursday is another Fader night with open lines all night long. Friday night, I'm over at Coast to Coast AM. And Saturday night, I'm over at Coast to Coast AM. So I'm working through all of this. Think about that for a second. It's all good. All right? All right. Just got to make the best of it. It's not like an asteroid hit the Earth. It's a totally different situation. This is Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Dr. Stephen Greer on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio. All right? At JChurchRadio. Hashtag F2B is the sandbox. Email is jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com. I'll be right back with our guest, Dr. Stephen Greer, right after this short break. Stay with us.
This is Nicole Church, daughter of you-know-who, and you're listening to Fade to Black on JimmyChurchRadio.com and the Game Changer Network.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio. When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Yes, Rivermoon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from Rivermoon Coffee. Just click on the banner at jimmychurchradio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can get our podcast for just $2 per month. All you have to do is click on the podcast banner over at jimmychurchradio.com.
OMG! People are jumping on board to the Life Change Tea Regiment. Brew, steep, and drink for a gentle, taste-great cleanse. It's changing how they feel. See what everybody's talking about. Log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Life Change Tea aids in digestive slowdown and helps people get moving down a healthy path. We won't make claims, we'll just let you decide. Experience is much better than a commercial anyway. If you want results, log on to getthetea.com and purchase your Super Strength Cleansing Tea. You won't be disappointed. And if you're looking for some mind-body suggestions, go to YouTube and punch in the search bar Health Matters Now. That's Health Matters Now. Put power into your health now. So, getthetea.com, that's getthetea.com for Super Strength Tea, and YouTube, Health Matters Now. That's Health Matters Now for valuable suggestions. Getthetea.com, the tea that makes you go.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, The Planet.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Dr. Stephen Greer is with us. I want to let everybody know that tomorrow night we're doing a very special broadcast. We're going to go live with our Fade or Not community coronavirus town hall. We'll be answering your questions and checking in with you all around the world. We're going to open up the phone lines. Wednesday night, Lori Spagna is here. Thursday is another Fader night with open lines all night long. Friday, I'm over at Coast to Coast. And Saturday, I'm over at Coast to Coast. Tonight, Dr. Stephen Greer. We're going to be discussing his new film, Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind. I have now seen it 2.5 times. Dr. Stephen Greer, MD, is founder of the Disclosure Project, the Center for the Study of Extraterrestrial Intelligence, CSETI, the Orion Project, and Sirius Technology Advanced Research, LLC. His National Press Club disclosure event in May of 2001 and the webcast had 250,000 people waiting online, the largest webcast in the history of the National Press Club at that time. He has worked for over 20 years to bring together the scientists, the inventors, and leaders in society to advance new clean technology and energy systems. Dr. Greer is the author of 4 books and multiple DVDs on the UFO ET subject, including the documentary Sirius, and has appeared on CBS, BBC, the Discovery Channel, History Channel, Ancient Aliens, and the movie Thrive. His last film, Unacknowledged, the expose of the greatest secret in human history, premiered in Los Angeles back in April of 2017 and was one of the most watched documentaries of the last 3 years. His website, you need to go check it out now, especially for the new film, is ce5film.com. The links are over at jimmychurchradio.com. I would like to welcome back to Fade to Black, Dr. Stephen Greer. Dr. Greer, good evening. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you guys?
We're doing okay. Let me flip it back to you. How are you doing out there on the East Coast?
Well, yeah, I was in Washington yesterday, and just got back out to my country house near Charlottesville, Virginia, in the Blue Ridge Mountains. And Washington's on lockdown; everything's closed. We're out in the country here, but we're in an abundance of caution. We're staying home and keeping it low key. And it looks like we're in for several weeks of this as it's turning out. So I think people need to psychologically prepare for the fact that more and more of our country is going to be, unfortunately, in a lockdown situation over the next month or two, or perhaps longer.
Did you, not to make light of the situation, but did you get your toilet paper?
Well, I'm the worst shopper in the world, and luckily my wife likes to shop, and that's sort of her wheelhouse, and I have avoided stores and haven't been in one except briefly in a Whole Foods to get a couple things, but she has everything adequate. I don't believe it's proper to hoard, so we just, we have enough for a while, and I think we're going to be fine.
Yeah, we did the same thing out here. When you have a family, if I wasn't married, with children, it's a different situation. But when you're married with children, your wife looks at you and says, hey, church, Are you ready for this? What have you done for us? So she keeps me in check just to make sure that that I have done what I can. And hoarding is not the right thing to do, but you have to make sure that your family is ready for anything, and I think that we're okay there. But on a serious note, your background, certainly, emergency room physician, the start of your career, you are aware of being prepared and what is the possibility of things in the future. I don't know what to believe with the media today. I don't trust it, even though I'm a part of the media. But what is your best advice right now? Are we ready? Are we prepared?
No. And obviously, the time for preparation would have been December and January. I have a friend who is a PhD geneticist, very renowned, who had a friend that came back from China in early January and was home 3 days and died of this coronavirus. He was only 48 years old. So my information from sources is that this is actually, unfortunately, worse than people are being told. That certainly most people who contract this, they could be having no symptoms or mild symptoms, but it can be rather nasty for some folks. And so because it's new, there are no immune responses. We have no antibodies to it in our entire human genome or species, and then therefore we don't have defenses. There's no vaccine. There's some talk of there could be a few medications that may help with it, some of the malarial medicines, but that's not been proven, and there haven't been any studies to, establish that. So, that's why they're instituting, unfortunately, a couple months late, the ability to, try to, minimize the spread of it. The reality of it is that we have no idea how many people have it and have no symptoms. I'm sure everyone's heard of the basketball player who was tested and was positive for it but had no symptoms at all. There are probably many, many thousands, if not millions of people like that. And I think what they're concerned most about is that the people who would get extremely ill from this, we don't have the capacity in our hospital system, ICUs or even regular beds, to have an enormous surge of people who get sick all at once, or even over a few weeks. So I think that's why everything is being in a shutdown mode. From a medical point of view, from a logistical point of view and planning, there should have been millions of test kits for this thing distributed in January. Everyone I know who is a scientist knew then this was going to be a problem, but unfortunately we're a couple months late behind that curve, and now we have to deal with the hand that we've been dealt. So I think everyone needs to just understand that, and nobody knows what the course of this disease will be. For one thing, there's some people who think it may die off in the summer, like many of these do. On the other hand, it could be that it has a double or triple peak, which is what happened with the Spanish flu of 1918, where there was a big peak, and then the biggest one was the second peak. That was actually more fatal. So the truth is, we don't know, and it wasn't contained where it originated in China. It then has spread. We didn't have enough testing and surveillance in place early enough to take measures to contain it, and now it's quite widespread in all likelihood. I'm just giving you my scientific take on it. This is not political commentary.
Sure.
It's just these are the facts, and so. You just have to try to minimize exposure, not only for yourself, but mainly because, if you're a carrier of it and you don't have bad symptoms, but then you go and visit your grandmother or someone who isn't healthy or has heart disease or lung disease, that could be a fatal encounter for them. So I think that's why they're trying to move everything into this situation we're in now, which unfortunately, I don't know how tenable it is. I hardly see the American public going 4 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks with no work, no restaurants, no travel. I mean, at a certain point, that just isn't tenable. But we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Now, what about, I hear so much about your immune system. And if that's the case with this, well, any day should be like this, but if that's the case, is it ever too late to start taking supplements and vitamins to make sure that your immune system is up to snuff?
Well, a good diet and avoiding junk food, exercising, and eating well, and, certainly vitamin C, D. There are a few vitamins that have been shown to help the immune system. And actually, all the studies have shown, as this will a bit of a segue into this documentary, meditation practices and getting adequate rest, but meditation practices have been found to actually boost the immune system and increase your ability to fight off infections. And there's very good science behind that began to emerge in the 70s and 80s. So that's another thing everyone can do.
And this is actually a good time to segue into the film from another direction, which is this. We often have talked about, and you and myself included, about how the world would react to the knowledge of ET on a grand scale, right, all around the globe. And I have felt that it wouldn't be that much of a panic. In fact, I think it would be pretty blasé. And then I see the reaction to this panic because of, from the media and the fear that is being instilled in the public. Right. And is this what we can expect if that ship appears above Los Angeles?
It's a good question, and I've been asked this question since, the 90s when I was, I remember, I think Larry King on CNN asked me this question, and I said, look, it's all about how anything is presented. Now, the presence of advanced intelligent life in the cosmos isn't the same as a virus that's going to kill you, although the way, unfortunately, what I call retail ufology and the media treats the subject, never mind Hollywood, certainly supports sort of a xenophobic fear of the foreign, fear of the alien mindset. So one of the problems with disclosure, and this is something we began to grapple with in the 90s, is that if people are brainwashed, let's call it, for lack of a better word, by the military-industrial complex, that there's another enemy out there we need to unite against and fight, which is what Werner von Braun warned us about, the man who invented the rocket for Adolf Hitler on his deathbed warned of this, that was the plan, and that's why this one of the reasons for the secrecy. They wanted to hold this out as a trump card to play down the road to try to unite sort of in a global way humanity against the threat that's outside the Earth.
Right.
So that is not in debate. We know, we have documents that prove this. We have testimony that proves it. We even have people with top secret clearances who have knowledge of or worked on abduction squads to abduct humans to make it look like aliens did it, when in actuality it was a counterintelligence military program. So I think that, there's so much false information or disinformation out there that's been embedded in society to trigger fear and all of that, that's the risk. So this is one of the things that I've been grappling with. This year is the 30th anniversary of my founding the CE5 initiative, the Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind initiative, the purpose of which was to bring this information out to the public, but allow the public to be empowered with the knowledge of how to make contact with these civilizations and bypass the corruption of government. So this documentary, Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind, which will be released to be seen globally on April 7th at 12:01 a.m. Eastern Time, April 7th. That is the purpose of the documentary, is that people can see, how this is done, the results we've had, and understand how these civilizations are communicating with very advanced technologies and through other dimensions with consciousness and thought. And that's a big part of the film is the idea of how the consciousness field is actually the, let's call it the internet of the cosmos. That is actually how advanced civilizations that go beyond the speed of light are communicating with electronic systems that interface with thought, coherent thought in the consciousness field. So when people begin to understand the science behind that and then see the results, I mean, you've seen the film, there's some unbelievable photos and videos of CE5, we call it Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind for short, CE5 events, and from people from all over the world. It's just not, my experience. It's the experience of thousands of people, and we now have around 100,000 people around the world doing this. We would like to see that become 80 million people or so that we can transform the whole question of disclosure away from government disclosure into people making direct contact. And frankly, by the time I founded the Disclosure Project and did that, I knew that the government had failed and that we would have to do disclosure. The first thing we had to do, though, was inform large numbers of people that, in fact, we're not alone, and here's the evidence. And that's why we did the Disclosure Project. You may not know this, Jimmy, but Unacknowledged has had over 600 million people around the world see it. It is actually the top viewed documentary in history. Now, most of those are on pirated black sites. But nevertheless, my point is that there are so many people who now understand that we're not alone. Most people then don't know what to do with that information. This documentary, which is a 2-hour feature film, really answers that question. Here's what every man, woman, and child can do. And even if you're at home with this pandemic, you can practice these techniques and practices and do this in your backyard or with 3 or 4 or 5 people. You do not need to be in a large group. So that's the beauty of it. And we have people from all over the world who have been doing this for many years. We've collected just a sampling of their experiences and photos and videos of ETs as well as the craft and how they've interacted with people. And that's what's in this documentary.
Now, we now know that the premiere has been postponed. It hasn't been canceled. And for those that wanted to attend the premiere at the Regal, what can we expect?
Well, it's a wait and see. I mean, obviously, we were going to have the premiere on April 6th. We had a whole lot of celebrities and VIPs coming, and it had to be postponed. Obviously, it's 1,000 people coming to an event in downtown LA. You're just not going to do that in the next 3 weeks. So we have postponed it. We don't know when it will be, rescheduled. The theater, everyone's been very cooperative. It's just we're all in a holding pattern, for lack of a better word, until we see how this pandemic plays out, when society can get back to some semblance of normal. And that's just something we can't answer yet. Now, the premiere is not going to delay, however, the release of the documentary, because we think it's really important that people know what's in there. Number one, what is the spin that's been put on the ET presence that needs to be corrected, which is the first chapter of this documentary, as you know. And then the second thing is, how do you make contact with them and bypass the utter dysfunction and corruption of not just U.S. government, but governments around the world? And so we go into a sort of a really tour de force, a sort of a whole review of what the nature of what's called entanglement, where everything in space and time is connected to everything else, but not in a straight line way, but in a way where there's instantaneous connections, regardless of the speed of light. And then go into the whole concept of the science of the consciousness field, the field of awareness, that everyone is awake by being conscious. What people don't realize is that conscious field is a singularity. There's one. It's not like my consciousness is different from yours. My individuality is different from yours, and my fund of knowledge and individual self. But the conscious faculty, the ability to be awake, that is actually been proven to be a universal constant. And when people go into meditation, they can connect to that aspect of consciousness, and then through remote viewing and practicing these CE5 protocols, can image and make contact with these ETs and invite them to make contact wherever you are. I've done it in downtown, near Washington downtown. One of my daughters had a wedding. They went off dancing after the wedding, the kids, and I was up on the roof of this house I had in D.C., and we were talking and doing this, and a beautiful ruby red ET object appeared in the sky over the city of Washington, materialized, floated over the city, and then vanished, and everyone saw it. And, I doubt it was even enough 3D to get on radar. But we also talk about that in the film. What is the difference between something Lockheed Martin makes that most people see, they call UFOs, I'm not so sure the Tic Tac wasn't one of those, versus an actual ET craft that has the ability to go trans-dimensional, between dimensions, and beyond the speed of light. They're actually very different. And so most people, when they talk about UFOs, they are describing things that are actually clandestine, covert, man-made objects. But there's also this other thing that's happening that is actually not described as well. So we try to describe what that is and how it might appear. And, as Arthur C. Clarke said, any civilization sufficiently advanced enough to go interstellar, everything in their technology is going to look like magic to us. And that's what our teams have discovered.
The film is edited and directed by Michael Mazzola once again, and he directed Unacknowledged, but things have been taken to a whole nother level in the production of this film. It's absolutely stunning to look at, and so obviously, and I said this to you earlier today, theatrics is half of the sale, especially in today's environment. Production values are everything. And that helps get the message across too, doesn't it?
Well, it does, and that's why, I want to thank everyone listening who helped crowdfund this. We put up a website, a volunteer who's actually an American Airlines jet pilot, did the crowdfunding website for us as a volunteer. We raised, I think as of today, about $760,000 to do this production and get this set up to roll out. We were able to engage a very famous actor named Jeremy Piven, who was the Ari Gold character in Entourage on HBO. He is the voiceover narrator in the film, and it's designed to be a film of world-class quality to reach hundreds of millions of people and go viral, so that people understand what it is they can do, that they don't have to feel like they're just sitting at home looking at YouTube videos forever, that they can actually go out and take this whole matter into their own hands, which is the empowerment message of the whole CE5 project, which the reason I started that project in 1990, it's hard to imagine, I was 34 then, I'm 64 now, was to be able to get the information out to the public that the civilizations are here, but we have the ability within ourselves to make direct contact in ways that most people don't realize how lucky they are. That we are actually have within our entire genetic and conscious ability this faculty to be conscious, but also to be aware through consciousness of remote places, see remote places in time, make contact, and invite these civilizations to interact with us. And therefore, I always tell people the proof of the pudding's in the eating. Why get things second or third hand, even from top secret military witnesses that we've brought forward? I have 980 top secret military people who have provided me information over the years. We have over 100 on videotape. Our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/Dr. Stephen Greer 55. Doctor is not spelled out, Dr. Stephen with a V, Greer 55. That has hundreds of hours of military intelligence, CIA, other people's testimony in there. But, that's just to get you to understand what's going on. Where the real action is you as an individual going out and making contact with these civilizations And if you do it in a non-prejudiced way, and I guess what I mean by that, put aside all the us versus them, alien invasion, fear-mongering, psyops of the intelligence community that we've been stewing in for 70 years, and just go out with sort of a pure heart and an open mind and do this, you're going to be really shocked at how beautiful and the experiences people have that are portrayed in this film, up to and including, very compassionate experience one of our team members had, who was unfortunately almost deaf and had very poor hearing since he was a teenager. During a contact event, he just parenthetically asked this ET that we actually have a photograph of in the film, you've seen it, if he could help him, and this ET healed him of his hearing, and it's been healed ever since. So we've had just beautiful things happen that are well documented. That's what's in this movie. This movie is, to be honest with you, and I get emotional about it, it's the heart and soul of what I've been doing. And I think a lot of people don't realize, Jimmy, that the whole disclosure project was a result of a major CE5 that happened on a beach in Florida in 1992. Most people have no idea that the way I got involved and pulled into doing things and briefing the CIA director and all these people was because we had successfully made direct contact.
I've got about 2 minutes, so the question is quick. Yeah. I got about 2 minutes before the break. That you're right about that? The CE5 protocols and the meditation and the direct connection with consciousness is there. I do it the exact opposite. I'm loud. I'm funny. I'm positive. Right? But the connection is there. You can't have a negative attitude. I just have a loud, positive attitude. But you do it, and it is one of the most fun, life-changing experiences you can have, right?
Oh, it is. And when people do it, and then they have an ET craft appear and zigzag across the sky, or an ET being teleport into their group, which is what we've had happen, and have been fortunate enough to get photographs of this. It is beautiful. But, at every one of these expeditions that I've led over the last 30 years, we have had the ETs actually in the circle with us, in the sky, around us. People go to bed and they go into practice the protocols before they go to sleep and wake up with an ET in their room. Now, some people say I'd be afraid of that, but the actual ETs, as opposed to the intelligence community, are not going to do that if they think you're not ready. They're actually incredibly sensitive to not scaring people, believe it or not. Now, I always tell people, if there's something happening that's very invasive beyond what you like, that is almost certainly not extraterrestrial.
We need to take a break right here. Let's get that out of the way. Our guest tonight, Dr. Stephen Greer. We are talking about his new film, Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind. This is Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. More with Dr. Greer right after this short break on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. You can follow me on Twitter at JChurchRadio, and you can follow Dr. Greer. We've got his Twitter links right up there in the feed. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas.
Okay, nurse, let's get this man to the ER stat.
Right away, doctor.
We see this every day. Heart attack or angina pain due to blocked and clogged arteries. Chelation can remove obstructions or blockages from arteries and help avoid painful and expensive surgery. Now there's Angioprim. It's a liquid oral chelation product that you take with juice. You start to feel the results fast. Angioprim increases blood flow all over the body, and that means more energy and strength to take on the day with less aches and pains. 60 years of research has gone into chelation. and Angioprim is the result. A safe and easy way to unblock your veins and arteries from buildup that slow circulation.
Paging Dr. Jones. Please report to the emergency room right away.
Log on now to angioprim.com. That's ANGIOPRIM.com. Or to speak with a trained consultant, give Angioprim a call at 954-882-7221. That's 954-882-7221.
Introducing the new Surfer Music app. Listen, Fade or not, you know I love my music. This is my go-to for all things notes. The Surfer app is a brand new concept in music listening. Surfer is free, providing unlimited access to thousands of live streaming radio stations. Surfer is an exciting, interactive listening experience. Discovery and surprise are built right in. Surfer is your destination to discover and rediscover great live streaming music. It features high-quality audio streams, free access to music from thousands of live streaming radio stations, unlimited listening, unlimited skipping. You get a music visualizer, and you can also select your favorite channels. Get it at the Apple App Store or Google Play. Just search Surfer Music or click on the Surfer banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Go Beckley Teppy.
Folks, this is very important information. What's to be said about CBD? AncientLifeOil.com. Our CBD is made from hemp and has 0.003 THC, which means this wonderful product won't get you high, no matter what amount you take. What does CBD do for the body? My hands are tied. But you can Google CBD benefits and be astounded. When you're finished reading, you'll want to log on to AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com and purchase. Life is good when you feel good. People are tired of pain. People are asking for non-GMO organic products to help them with, you fill in the blank. Legal in 49 states, and again, our CBD is made from hemp. Ancient Life Oil is about helping people one by one by one. If you wonder how good the product is, the CEO takes it every day without miss. AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. Have a great day.
Hello, I'm Katie, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA Digital Broadcast Station.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to jimmychurchradio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And this is Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers.
Yes.
We're also Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier.
And I'm Ari Gold.
We're the Honey Brothers.
And you're listening to Jimmy Church.
The Revolution.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and you can become an official Fadernaut by just going to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com.
Hello, this is Serena Wright Taylor from Conscious Life Expo, and you're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church, who holds the Lucky Pony record for the best astrological chart since 1963. True story.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Dr. Stephen Greer. We're talking about his new film, Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind. If you have missed this show or any live show, you can get our podcast. Just go to jimmychurchradio.com and click on that podcast banner. We have over 1,200 shows right there for just $2 per month. And continuing our conversation, Dr. Greer, I have to ask, what is it like to have the support of a major film company and Jim Martin and 1091 Films to help get the word out? It's got to be an extraordinary feeling.
Well, I'm very grateful for everyone who's helping. Actually, I think the what I'm most humbled by are the nearly 4,000 people who've contributed to the film. One of the beautiful things about this documentary, as well as Unacknowledged and Sirius, is that nobody has had any editorial control over it. The content is completely what we wanted to have in it, because there are no, I hate to use the word, corrupt financial interests involved. And what that means is, the final cut on the film, we've been able to have the message and the content that we think the public deserves to know, and not have it watered down by a corporate interest. So what's nice and beautiful about it is that 1091, which used to be called the Orchard, has been very supportive of that. And so they're responsible, of course, for distributing and getting the film out. But the other partner in this, however, is the public, because what we really want to have happen with this is to have at least 1% of the world's population know about this and begin to practice the meditation and the contact. Why is that important? And you'll see in the movie, there's a section that we talk about phase transitions in physics, and to make this very non-mathematical for people. But basically, when you're doing a quantum experiment, and let's say the example we use is wanting to have a very coherent field effect in helium, a container of helium. When you cool it down to absolute zero, you begin to have a few atoms align coherently and line up. When you hit 1%, instantly that entire container almost magically becomes what's called superfluid and takes on these magical properties and becomes entirely coherent, all of it. The other 99%, therefore, are phase transition affected by just that 1%. So everyone talks about the 1% corrupt wealthy interest, which is actually the 0.00001%. What I tell people is that if only 1% of the public would become educated on this and would become coherent, it would transition the entire 8 billion people on this planet. That is the transformation that needs to happen for an age of enlightenment, peaceful contact, interstellar travel, free energy, and peace to happen. But it's totally doable. Now, of course, 80 million people sounds like a lot of people, and it is. But when you consider that informationally, Unacknowledged has been seen by over 600 million out of 8 billion. It's still less than 10%. But if we could get enough people to understand this, and so this is the reason I'm on your show, is to make an appeal for people to help us with this. In reality, the reason Unacknowledged and Sirius were seen by so many millions of people, it wasn't because we had a decent marketing budget. This is not 20th Century Fox putting $50 million into advertising something that Tom Cruise is in. This is grassroots. So what I tell people is the way this is happening, from the concept of the film, the production of it, the crowdfunding of it, and even the rollout of it, it is 99.9% us doing it. Now, obviously, I'm very grateful that we have a fantastic distributor moving this around for us and getting it on every single platform on the planet. But the real action is actually all of you guys listening, and that's why we need your help to make this a reality.
Now, I had said earlier the film is stunning, but I've got to say, this is a guy thing. The film opens, Dr. Greer, with you in the bleeping bat cave. And now, I want this isn't a spoiler alert or anything like that. But I'm watching this, and then I realize it's not green screen. That you are literally in Batman's bat cave, and you're there for the duration of the film. But it's introduced that way. Visually, about as dramatic as it can get. What was it, just from me to you, seriously, man to man, what was it like to be in the Batcave for this film?
Well, I mean, I was focused on articulating what I needed to do, and then I was on the floor, which wasn't that comfortable. It was concrete meditating, which was fun because they had these cool lights. You'll see even in the trailer. Those of you who've seen the trailer, you can see it on our YouTube channel. But be honest with you, now you're going to see. This is tragic. No, so I can hear my grandkids and my children groaning as I answer your question. I've never seen a Batman movie.
No,
I have no idea. I had never heard of the Batman Garage Cave or whatever. So when it was said to me, "This is where we want to film you," I said, "Why? What's that?" So honestly, you're going to see. I'm like tragically kind of a nerd, but. I really didn't know what that space was, but it was fun being in it. But for me personally, it was like another studio. It's another set to be on. But for the director and producers, they say, "Oh no, man, this is awesome." I'm going, "Okay, if you say so, I'll do it."
Years from now, you'll be able to sit around with a bunch of people going, "Well, I shot in the Batcave." Right? You've got that going for you. But and the reason why I bring it up, because it sets the tone for the dramatic and it catches your attention. So you are forced to listen to what you are saying. Your attention doesn't wander, and that's what's really cool about setting the tone so early in the film. Right. No, and it was fun to do it there. It was a big shoot to do it. It's the anchor shoot for the documentary. But I just feel I'm the person to articulate the ideas and connect dots for people. I'm certainly not. I would say that this film is the miracle of collaboration, and the ideas in the film are mine, but the creative weaving it together. And the storytelling was a collaboration between the production team and myself and a lot of people, actually. And it was really about 2 years in the making. Now, and there's one other thing, and then I want to move on to actual content in the film. After your dramatic entrance in the Batcave in the beginning of the film, then the opening credits roll, and the editing and production value really hits you, and that rollout, the way that it comes in, that happens a few minutes into the film. It's not done in the normal intro of the film, and that is for dramatic effect, and I thought it was very effective. But it also sets the tone for everybody with a very, very modern aesthetic to what is about to be seen here. This isn't like any other UFO documentary. It certainly sets itself apart, doesn't it? Well, it really does. And what we wanted to do is to create something that would convey the information in a way that would be inspiring. I would say that of the small screenings I have done for people, and I know that there are a number of, let's just say, influencers and celebrities who've seen it, every one of them have wept by the end of it. And it's inspiring and beautiful because it opens up a world of contact and experiences that is way beyond just the left brain intellect of most what people think of with UFOs and disclosure and kicking the tires on the UFO sort of thing, because it goes into this deep aspect of who we are as a people. What is the foundation of contact? And that is, what do we have in common? Well, not only with each other, we're all in this together on this little blue planet, but with these other civilizations. And what you discover is that folded within every single one of us is this conscious field that is a singularity, and that we are really, all one people woven throughout the entirety of the cosmos. And that is not only scientifically demonstrated through some beautiful experiments that have been done with the science of consciousness, but also the experiences all the CE5 team members from around the world that are featured in this have had, and how the ETs have communicated with them or asked them to go outside and look in a certain area or put their camera up and it appears. Or when it starts leaving. There was one video where one of the producers who got introduced to this, who's been working with me on this, you mentioned Jim Martin, he asked them, please don't go away, turn around, and it stops and turns around.
And you can see this as he's saying it in the film. So the interactivity of it and the extent to which these civilizations can be, once you open, let's say, a connection to them and understand that you need to do it in a way that isn't bigoted or prejudiced or, sort of stereotypically fear-based, they're waiting. And one of the things I pointed out is that these civilizations have been begging for an appropriate response from humanity for 70-plus years, since World War II. And they've either been shot down or chased by military, vivisected, and, all manner of reverse engineering projects for material benefit scientifically. But there's been no movement to, hey, let's establish some sort of peaceful dialogue with these civilizations and really discover who they are, who we are, why are they here in the first place? Why are we here in the first place? I mean, these are really profound questions, and that's what we begin to address. Now, of course, you can only do so much in a 2-hour film. I'll give you a sneak preview about something that else is going to happen. We hope the same day, but I don't want to promise this, so don't hold me to this. But we're developing a whole new app that you'll be able to get on your, Google or iTunes store or whatever. That's going to be called, it's not there now, so don't go try to get it. It's going to be called the CE5 Contact app that will take people on an entire course of remote view training, the meditations, doing the contact protocols, the equipment you need, how to form a group. But it's also going to have an aspect of it where people can message other people in their area, or if they're traveling, once we can travel again, to another part of the planet. You go to New Zealand, then you can hook up with folks, kind of like a dating app, but it's not a dating app. It's a CE5 app. Then you can meet up with people so that you can connect with a team of people and do this together. Because most people are kind of a little freaked out to go out under the stars by themselves and have a craft or an ET appear. But when you do it with a group, there's sort of a sense of, we're doing this together, and there's a greater sense of feeling confident and secure when you do it.
There's a bigger vibe, too, that ET picks up on. And I truly believe that the larger the group, the more positive the vibe, the better the interaction is going to be. I've seen it myself, haven't you?
Oh, absolutely. And it's not just the size. It's I hate to use this term, but these civilizations aren't interested in racists. And what do I mean by that? I call it interstellar racism. What we have done, and what the intelligence community has done very effectively, is to create a mythology and a narrative that, well, there are ETs out there that look like they're from, say, Norway, and those are the good ones. But the ones that look a little different from, say, Homo sapiens, those are the bad ones. And so they're trying to get people into this, like, black versus white, cowboys versus Indians, Jews versus Muslims, us versus them dialectic. And unfortunately, we're so hardwired because of our tribal background that we can be manipulated by these sort of demagogues who play on racism and division and what have you. And there's always something, I grew up in the South in the 50s, 60s, and we had, quote, colored water fountains at my father's Sears store. I was almost run over and killed by a bunch of racists because I had a black girlfriend in high school. I'm not kidding you, in 1972 or 3. So I've seen all that. And then you had all the gay bashings because people were gay or bi or whatever. Now, the next big thing that they want to inculcate in society that we have to vaccinate ourselves against, to use a medical analogy, is this interstellar racism that is the stock and trade of most things ufological. And that is it's an insipid, very well done counterintelligence program that's designed to benefit exactly who? Well, it would benefit when they're ready to pull that trigger. It would benefit the people who want to have massive global military spending and unite the planet around fear, kind of like the movie Independence Day. And that's what the agenda is. And that's the agenda that Eisenhower was grappling with, that he lost that battle in the 50s, by the way, which is why Eisenhower said, beware the military-industrial complex. Notwithstanding, he was a 5-star military general. He was warning us on his farewell address of this problem, and he didn't articulate all this. And I only discovered many years later, when I was an adult, that in fact this is what he was grappling with. He wanted, in the mid-late 50s, to establish peaceful contact with these civilizations and disarm the planet. And the warmongers and profiteers said, like bloody hell you will, and they started moving him out of control. And it has been out of control since 1956. So I was only a year old, born in 1955. I can tell you that this whole thing has been out of control, and the only way we're going to fix it is for the people to fix it. It isn't going to be fixed by the government of the United States. It's going to, or Britain or anywhere else. It's going to be fixed by regular folks like you and me. And I always tell people, I'm just the regular guy who came across this at a young age. The movie goes a little bit into, what happened to me when I was 17, 18. But I discovered how to do the CE. I co-created with the ETs on board a spacecraft the CE5 protocols that are in the film, and will really be, a tutorial in this new app that we hope to have finished by April 7th. But I think that's what people need to understand, is that we have to step back from our prejudices for this to work. And it doesn't matter if you're with 2 or 3 or 4 people, or I'm going to do something at Contact in the Desert with hundreds of people out in the desert if they don't cancel it, that last weekend of May of this year. So what I tell people is that I've done this for thousands of people, and I've done it with a group of 2 or 3 or 4. And what's really the determining factor is your intent, the positive energy. You're being free of being sort of filled with sort of fear that they've inculcated into our society and infected us with, and that you can go beyond and transcend those limitations that they want us to stay in this box of fear. Because let's face it, fear is the great mind killer. It kills your spirit. It makes you shut down, which unfortunately is also what's going on with this coronavirus.
Right.
It's creating fear everywhere. And not to be cavalier about it, it's terrible if someone gets sick and dies. So we want to take precautions. But I always tell people, even that, don't approach it through fear. Approach it through solutions and being positive. I was very sick and died when I was 17, as you know, Jimmy, and you don't have anything to be afraid of on the other side. I can tell you that.
Well, what do? We've got to get rid of the shoot first, ask questions later mentality that is part of our DNA. And on the other side, we've got, TTSA and that push that has gone into the media, throwing the word fear around with this apparent ET contact, and that we have something to be concerned about with our airspace. And I don't understand why the fear card is being played right now when we have an opportunity here for dialogue.
Because that's how you keep people under your control. If you look at the history of whether it's despots and dictators, religious authorities, they always play fear and divide people. Us versus them, you've got an enemy, and they play into this sort of very primitive and atavistic tribal nature where we want to go on the war footing for someone who's different from us. And that's been exploited by corrupt demagogues for millennia. Now we're at a stage where, as a civilization, we're not going to evolve if we don't go beyond that and transcend that. And the number one way that can happen is through one's own private spiritual practice and meditation, but then getting together with people of like mind and realizing that these lines of division are so artificial and superficial. But then you ask the deeper question, what's the color of pure consciousness, just mind, being awake. It doesn't have a color, doesn't have a shape, doesn't have an ethnicity, it doesn't have a religion. It's a universal constant. So that universality that luckily is folded within every awake sentient being is something that we can access through meditation, but then put it into practice through these techniques to actually remote view and contact these craft. And I will tell you, this information I'm sharing right now, you have to stop and think about it. It is the most dangerous information I've ever put out there for this simple reason. It is like a denial of service that someone would do to an internet system. If enough people do this and make contact, and the ETs will then increasingly respond, it will overwhelm the military and intelligence operations that are trying to deceive the planet. But that is the only way that's going to work. But the beautiful part of that is it doesn't have to be a plurality. It's not an election for the presidency. It's not. You don't need 51%. You need 1% of the public. All right, 1% of Earth is still a lot of people. It's 80 million people. But in America alone, 340 million people, they're estimating about a quarter of the population are interested in meditation, consciousness, yoga, new thought, entanglement, as it's called, all these really cool concepts. So I think this is absolutely doable, but we have to believe that we have to believe in ourselves and not be always looking to whoever's in the White House or the Congress or at the UN or some billionaire to fix this for us. I don't think it's going to be fixed that way. I think it's going to be fixed. I came up through the whole civil rights era in the South, and believe me, there was not 51% of the U.S. population that wanted that to happen, but there were enough people who got together and did it. Same thing with the early gay rights movement and the rights for women and what have you. These are all things that are grassroots. Now we need to take this grassroots where we say, okay, the people are going to decide that we are conscious beings and we are universal beings, and we have more in common with these civilizations than we are different, even though we're totally different species from different planetary systems, because folded within the structure of our own soul and a reality, it's this field of consciousness that weaves all of us together in this beautiful fabric of life and existence. And once you understand that the science that's been done that proves that is so elegant, that's what's in this film, and you see it a few times. I predict people are going to need to see this film 3, 4, 5 times to get their mind around all the concepts, but I wanted it that way. I wanted it to be something where it really kind of would make people think, what can we do about this and how do we fix this?
Let's take our break right here. And one of the going back to coronavirus, in a strange way, all of those concepts that we have been talking about for so many years, coming together, raising our vibration and recognizing what consciousness is, not only here on this planet, but to the universe, putting our differences aside. I think we're going through that right now. We're being forced. We are being forced. And I think that is one positive thing that could be coming out of all of this panic around the world. Our guest tonight, Dr. Stephen Greer. More with Dr. Greer after this short break. This is Fade to Black. I'm yours, Jimmy Church. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Do you want to be an official Fadernaut? Of course you do. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. Just go to our membership section at jimmychurchradio.com. Introducing the new Surfer Music app. Listen, Fadernauts, you know I love my music. This is my go-to for all things notes. The Surfer app is a brand new concept in music listening. Surfer is free, providing unlimited access to thousands of live streaming radio stations. Surfer is an exciting, interactive listening experience. Discovery and surprise are built right in. Surfer is your destination to discover and rediscover great live streaming music. It features high-quality audio streams, free access to music from thousands of live streaming radio stations, unlimited listening, unlimited skipping. You get a music visualizer, and you can also select your favorite channels. Get it at the Apple App Store or Google Play. Just search Surfer Music or click on the Surfer banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Go Beckley Teppy.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
You listen to us, and we listen to you. And so does the CIA. KGRARadio.com.
If you have hard water, the lime scale not only leaves white spots, it clogs pipes and breaks down appliances, costing you hundreds of dollars in energy and wear. Eliminate lime scale and other water issues like brown staining and bad odors with HydroCare water products available from Wave Home Solutions. Wave's affordable water systems don't use salts or chemicals. You'll love the way your water tastes, smells, and looks. Satisfaction guaranteed. For more information, go to bestwater123.com. That's bestwater123.com.
Are you intrigued by paranormal talk radio? You'll love the new paranormal radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the paranormal radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the paranormal radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Dr. Stephen Greer. We're talking about his new film. It is called Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind. The digital release date officially is April 7th. You can go to ce5film.com for all of the information that you need, and the links are over at jimmychurchradio.com. And now, again, this is not a spoiler alert. I want to let everybody know I have seen the film 2.5 times, but there are some very pointed subjects that are brought head on in the film. And one of them, you bring in Danny Sheehan, who was absolutely effective. He's a great mind. But you go head on, and I think you set the tone here for everybody, Dr. Greer, about fake news and Project Mockingbird and deception brought onto the public, and certainly with the subject of UFOs and alien and ET contact. Why did you decide to combat this like you did very early on in the film?
Well, I knew that... Here's the problem. People aren't going to go out, and even with a small group, and attempt to make contact if they believe the myth and the narrative that has been stuffed down all of our throats for 70 years, that you should be scared to death of these visitors. And I think that in order to, in a sense, prepare people to do CE5, we needed the first part of the film to be an expose of what's actually been going on, and we try to show that in the few minutes that we have. Again, all this is being covered in a 2-hour feature film and not a 20-hour internet series. But I think that what Danny Sheehan was saying, he's a Harvard law guy. He did the Pentagon Papers, the Silkwood case, the Iran-Contra. He made the point that, amongst other things, is that they for years have been wanting to always have some enemy to unite people around, and now they want this to be the next big one, is this planet against another one. And the media is very interesting. He talks about having seen a document that listed 42 people who were on the payroll of the intelligence community, CIA, that were editors and national security editors and others at the major media, not just in the United States, but around the world, but including the United States. And so one of the proof of this, we mentioned this in the movie Unacknowledged, the proof of it is that the most watched documentary in history arguably was Unacknowledged. In history, in the world, ever. It never got one mention in any of the media, ever, not to this day. As soon as this cutout group from the CIA, that's been named TTSA, started putting out information about this, but with it being a national security threat, and with it being a threat to our sovereignty and a threat to our security, with that narrative, that appeared in every newspaper, the New York Times, CNN, the BBC, globally, all at once in lockstep. And yet, the evidence that they released is nowhere near as strong as the evidence in the Disclosure Project. But we didn't put that spin on it. So the media is in the back pocket of the controllers, these corrupt interests. When some group emerges that all have CIA and intel backgrounds, and they put this very specialized but subtly done spin as a threat, and it goes all over the mainstream media, and it's covered, seamlessly, all at once. Whereas other events that have happened, take the Phoenix Lights that happened in 1997. That didn't emerge in the mainstream media for months. And it finally broke through, but it was being squelched. And by the way, you may know this, Jimmy, that was a CE5.
That's right. And,
yep.
And this is
another... I was there. I was right underneath the thing. And I was in Phoenix when it happened.
Right.
And we were in the process to give people the historic backstory. We were meeting at a digital lab in Tempe, in Phoenix there, to put together all the photos and images that we were going to give to members of Congress in April of 97 when we were organizing the briefings. Once the White House, Clinton's White House, had said, look, this is too dangerous. There's nothing in it for us to do this. We're not going to do it. We began to take it to members of Congress. So we had organized this congressional briefing for April 1997. So I was there in March in Phoenix putting all this together, and as we were flying in, I did the CE5 protocol. Excuse me. Asked the ETs, would you please do something that could get filmed that would be unmistakable, that we can put in this sizzle reel for members of Congress. 3 hours later, the so-called Phoenix Lights happened.
One of my big disappointments in my life, I was in Phoenix, right? I was there. And
you were? Wow.
No, I missed it. I was at a party. It doesn't matter. I get home Friday night. I drop my bags off. I turn on the TV, and it's all over the news. And I was like, what happened last night? Right? I was like, what? I missed it. I completely missed it. We all did.
Oh, wow.
And I cannot. Wow. I was outside. And it doesn't matter. I still cannot believe. I stood there with my jaw dropped, watching it on the news, and I indeed missed it. So there you go. Oh, okay. Now, let's change gears a little bit. okay, you and I'm trying to think of the event. We were up in San Francisco. You were speaking. I introduced you, and we did a couple of seminars together. And you had said then, you said, Jimmy, my next film, I got all the stuff, all the secret stuff, all the video that you can handle. And you presented some of the video. Adam Curry and I were in the front row, so you remember all of that. Well, anyway, Adam and I were elbowing each other, going, man, this is great, this is great. Well, some of the stuff made it into unacknowledged. I was a little bummed out about that, but not this time around. In Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind, it is loaded with footage that I have never seen. And I'm only mentioning this because for those out there that have been through this, the veterans of the UFO community, this is a film where you're going to see stuff that you've never seen before. You get the intro UFO 101 for everybody that is being, brought into this community. It sets the pace. But this film is full of footage that I have never seen before. Pretty incredible. How did you pick and choose what made it into the film?
That's the hardest part. It's like, which child do you choose? Because we have, what people need to realize is that we have thousands of these images, videos and photos and things. And so what I wanted to have in there were images from around the world representing various people's experiences, things that happened when I was leading the group, but a lot of material that is in there when I wasn't there, from people who have just learned how to do this through the app and other things, and have had these experiences, because I wanted to show that I don't like people to think that I need to be on this planet to do this. So, my whole purpose, quite honestly, is to put enough of this information out that if I drop dead tonight, it doesn't matter. So I wanted to show that this is something anyone, anywhere can do. So there are people in Russia, there are people in Eastern Europe and in Australia and all over the United States and in Japan. And so the film is global, and it gives people the idea, you know what? Everyone can do this. So that was part of the criteria. And the other was a various types of, let's call it, strange phenomenon, because not everything is an object moving in the sky or a craft that you see. A lot of the experiences are really strange. And to people who begin to practice this, we wanted to put some of these strange experiences in there so that people would say, well, now I understand why we're sitting out in the empty desert and all of a sudden an ET object appears, but only in its tone form. It just makes a tonality that surrounds the group. You can't see anything with the naked eye, etc. So I think there's all kinds of different experiences that we wanted to sort of crack the door open on. It's as far as now there's a whole lot more that's not in there. You can't, for a general release film for millions of people, you can't put every kind of strange thing. It'd be a bridge too far. People couldn't follow. But that was a lot of the criteria that went into why we put in what we did. Now, here's something that's cool. There are going to be 3 bonus features. There's going to be the 2-hour film and 3 other features that will be when people buy the film from iTunes or Vimeo, they can get. One of them is a complete compilation of all those images that are in this movie in one place that's back to back to back to back, so it can be in your collection. The other feature is my entire unbroken interview in the Batman's garage or cave or whatever the heck you called it. Right. And the other one is Danny Sheehan's total interview, which is mind-blowingly brilliant. But, of course, in a movie like this, you're going to use a few minutes of a 2-hour thing, sit down. So those are going to be really amazing features that people can get along with the film.
A couple of weeks ago, Michael Mazzola and I had a little private time together, and we were talking about the film. And I said, okay, how much of the CE 5-foot? He goes, Jimmy, I'm just going to tell you right now, I looked at thousands. Dr. Greer has got so much footage, so much of it that I wanted in that we just didn't have the time to put it all in there. We have enough there for a part 2 and a part 3 if we needed to do it.
Well, we're talking 100 terabytes of stuff. I mean, it's enormous. I mean, and you saw some of it at that presentation I did where, like, this ribbon of light moves into the circle and wraps around this Peruvian medical doctor who is meditating and has this contact. I mean, you've seen some of these, but, you know, a lot, I think most of the public, even in the UFO community, have not, and certainly the general public hasn't. So the purpose of that isn't, you know, it's great eye candy for people who are into visual images, which I think most of us are, but it also, they're teachable moments is how we selected it. And then we wanted to put in a couple of the pictures of the actual ETs that appeared in our group, one at Joshua Tree and one up in Arizona with this man who had his hearing restored by, it's an ET species that has a sort of triangular, like a praying mantis shaped head face. And they're known as being extremely master healers in the cosmos. And I know in my friend that this film is dedicated to Sherry Adamek, who was with me as I started this project in the 90s when she was dying of metastatic breast cancer had gone to her brain, when she was still lucid. And one of these praying mantis-shaped ETs came into her apartment in Littleton, Colorado, and did something. She wasn't able to be healed at that point, but they did something so she never had 1 minute of pain the entire time until she passed away. And I was at her bedside when she passed away.
I wanted to ask you this. This is a direct question. In the two ET images that are in the film, I think it's two, how physically, how tall are they? What are we, are they 3 feet, 6 feet? Are they, how tall are they?
Well, the one that is, we call him the healer, who healed this gentleman, is probably around 5 to 6 feet.
Wow.
The one that, and it was just two people down from me. There was one, there was a medical student beside me, and then the ET was beside the medical student and this man who had his hearing restored. The other ET was at Joshua Tree, floating just outside our circle, and was probably more like 4 to 5 feet tall, and he is from the Andromeda galaxy. His name is Bijou, and that photograph is really beautiful, classic. But, these are ones that we've got. I can tell you that there are thousands of things like that have happened that we've not gotten on camera because it can be, what people have to understand, it's not like someone landing on a jet airplane and walking out and you're shaking hands. So,
right.
You shouldn't be shaking hands now, elbow bumping. But they're coming in from another dimension into our space-time from another star system, traversing at multiples of the speed of light, and they can come in and out of this 3D dimension that we call reality, which is only the tip of an iceberg of the big reality, in a nanosecond, or in a couple seconds, or in a few seconds, and then vanish right in front of your eyes. Same thing with the ET spacecraft. They'll be there, and they'll be moving and turning, and then you'll see this in the video, in this movie, they dematerialize right in front of your eyes, or make a turn and just almost like bending space-time, disappear out into space. Like we have one at Mount Shasta that did that. We got on videotape night vision that's just stunning. So all this is in the film, and I think people, I've had some people see this who know nothing about this subject, and they go, wow, this is real. And it is real. Not only that it's hoax, it's all 100% real. So what I tell people is that you have to sort of be prepared to put aside the constructs of, I call it, when I first got involved with this in 1990, 91, I went to some UFO meetings, and it was all people who were kicking the tires of the UFO. In other words, they didn't understand anything beyond 3D material matter. And they didn't understand that no civilization is going to stay fully materialized, traveling at multiples of the speed of light. You can't. So there's a whole part of this film that's called The Crossing Point of Light, which is based on a paper I wrote in 1995. It's in my first book. By the way, to correct you, I have 5 books out, but this first book is called Extraterrestrial Contact, The Evidence and Implications, and it's called The Crossing Point. And it talks about all that exists in the cosmos that is resonating and exists beyond the speed of light when you cross the light barrier. And that's most of what exists in the cosmos. So you have to begin to understand that to make contact with these civilizations, because that's their reality. And it's also our reality if we listen to our elders. If you look at the native peoples, they understood about the spirit world and consciousness and matter and nature, and that the earth as a material sphere also has a spirit associated with it. I mean, my grandmother was Cherokee, Native American. And so, this is something that those cultures understand, but the sort of scientific Western paradigm has sanitized all that out. But we threw out the baby with the bathwater. And now we need to sort of come back around where we understand the scientific method, but don't exclude the realm of consciousness and spirit and other dimensions.
I have had nothing but positive experiences with ET and sky watches. But what about those that have had a negative experience with contact? How do we address that?
Well, we have to address it. I mean, the question is, what was the experience? Was it extraterrestrial? Was it a mischievous being from another dimension that's not extraterrestrial? Or was it something that was staged by the intelligence community, which is a bunch of them? And we have someone in the film who's an Air Force intelligence guy saying, yeah, we did that. We hoaxed those abductions. And so you have to begin to understand, and it's not at all to be, I don't want to sound incompassionate and uncaring to people traumatized. There are people who have been traumatized, and to be honest with you, I'm one of them. You may know the story that these covert interests tried to abduct me out of the St. Moritz Hotel on Central Park South in 1994, right after I met with the Prince of Liechtenstein, the Crown Prince, who was trying to convince me to, I hate to say this, cross over to the dark side. And I said no. And then he informed me he was funding a lot of the abduction research in the United States and Europe that were focusing on people's experiences with staged military abductions because he wanted people to accept the price in blood and treasure of an interplanetary war. Now, that sounds absolutely insane. When I heard that 25 and a half years ago, it was in July of 94, I thought, man, is this guy completely off his rocker?
Right.
What I discovered, actually, was that he was representative of a lot of people in this cabal, these controllers, who want to do anything they can to prepare the human race for sort of this epic conflict. Of course, this man's particular perspective, the prince's perspective, was, we need this to happen so Armageddon will happen, so Christ will return. It was that kind of, lunatic fringe religiosity. But, there are other reasons that other people want to do that. They want to control the public. They want to create global control over the population. They want trillions of dollars more in military spending and weapons in space and the Space Force and all this nonsense, all the stuff we're wasting money on.
What about the religious aspect of all of this? How do you think the world's religions, the older established world's religions, not necessarily the more modern ones, but the older religions, how are they going to continue to deal with the ET component of us?
Well, I think they will have a problem once they understand the foundation of this. In other words, there's a universality. When I've had conversations at the Vatican with senior theologians like Monsignor Balducci or the Vatican astronomer or other religious leaders around the world, different faiths, they don't have a problem with this. It's only when you get into like the lunatic fringe of religiosity, and unfortunately the lunatic fringe of ufology, that you get into a problem with it, where it sinks into this sort of us versus them and what have you. I don't think that most mainstream religions are going to have a problem with it if it's articulated in a way that they can understand it within their paradigm. And, that's the great conversation, I had with Monsignor Balducci overlooking St. Peter's Square back some time ago. Paula Harris actually set that up for me. And she's so wonderful, and we were there, and I had a wonderful discussion, with Monsignor, who was a senior theologian to Pope John Paul and others, But, he knew that these civilizations existed, that they were all children of God, as he put it, that there was this universal oneness. He was quite enlightened about it. And, and by the way, his specialty was demonology. And he would laugh when, I brought up this issue of angels and demons. And he says, yeah, they don't need flying saucers. They don't have, but, he had no problem fitting life on other planets and advanced life that are more advanced than we are into his spiritual and religious worldview. And I think most people, when it's explained to them in a rational way, won't. Now, there's always going to be your outliers that are going to be hysterical. But I haven't found that to be the case with most people who are in the mainstream religious fields. You're only dealing with, I think, maybe 10, 15% of, the fanatics who have a problem.
And the other part about this is, well, of course, we have, the Vatican and other world religions, but then we have the religious component that exists inside of the Pentagon and the CIA and the NSA and what have you. That is something else that needs to be dealt with, right?
Yeah, that's huge. And one of the problems with it is that from my worldview, universal view that I have, they have misinterpreted Scripture and are trying to fit a square peg in a round hole. In other words, they're trying to say, this is the times we're living in, and this is how we're going to make hay, like Prince Hans von Liechtenstein said. Let's create a scenario where we have to engage in an interplanetary war, so that there'll be this sort of Armageddon type event. And, you do have those sort of fanatics, unfortunately, in the control group, the cabal, what's called MAGIC, the Majority Intelligence Committee, and some of their compartments, or their USAPs, Unacknowledged Special Access Projects. And I've met with some of them, and it's some pretty wacky stuff, to be honest with you. But I don't think that, most people, if they can have this explained to them where it's relatable and say, look, you are conscious. You have a body of light. You are aware. You can have meditation experiences and see remote places. People have near-death experiences and see the other side and these other dimensions. Well, these civilizations have the same thing. They just have technologies that traverse those dimensions with alacrity and with efficiency that they've been using for hundreds of thousands to millions of years. A few of them, there's that picture of that light being on the beach with us in Florida.
Right.
Wow. That being is from a civilization that's on the order of 1 billion years past where we are.
Who took that picture on the beach? Was that you?
I was there. It was somebody on my team, and I saw this being scintillating that it blipped in. They took a picture, and there it was. It looks like it's a piece of an artwork, but it's just, and it looks like it has a halo around it. It's a toroidal energy field that's holding the energy of this crystalline light being on the beach with us.
Yeah, it's a stunning picture.
Oh, it's absolutely beautiful, and it wasn't photoshopped, retouched, nothing. That's what it was. So that's in the film, and like I said, people who get the bonus features, they'll be able to have just there's a bonus feature that'll be with the film when people buy it that has the entire collection of all these photos and images just in one thing, just labeled. No, not talking or anything, just a distillation of it. People are going to like having that, I think, in their library.
Tonight, our guest is Dr. Stephen Greer. We're going to take a break right here. I want to give a big shout out to the chat room over on YouTube. I hear the action is really cool. We'll be right back after this short break.
Hi everybody, this is Rob Halford, the Metal God on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
This is KGRA Digital Broadcasting Station, Salt Lake City, Utah, Van Buren, Arkansas.
Why is it we're not very good with our health regimen until it's too late? We don't put oil in the car until the engine blows up. When the body's out of balance, your health is not so good. Give your body some love. Log on to GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com. Try our Life Change Tea, which cleanses you from harmful intruders. A clean colon is one of the ways to bring the body in balance. We also carry organic supplements to help you get where you need to go. So do your body a favor. Log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. You can even visit our sales page to save some dough. Does anybody call money dough anymore? Anyway, if you're looking for short, helpful health tips, go to YouTube and punch in Health Matters Now. That's Health Matters Now. So, log on to getthetea.com, shop, get balanced, then learn some cool tips at Health Matters Now. You'll be glad you did. That's getthetea.com.
Your contact for current news and trending topics. KGRAradio.com.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I only drink Fade to Black blend coffee from Rivermoon. Just click on the Rivermoon Coffee banner at jimmychurchradio.com. Promo code F2B Blend.
So are you tired of being tired? Well, then it's time to get the tea. Hey, it's Lisa here to tell you about this all-natural, all-organic tea I've been drinking that has had great results for over 20 years. It's called Life Change Tea, and it's specially formulated to help detoxify and cleanse your kidneys, liver, colon, and blood all at once. The colon is one of the most ignored organs in the human body. The faster that waste is eliminated from the body, the less time that waste sits in our intestines, spreading toxins to our bloodstream. This tea helps cleanse chemicals caused by outside intruders from our entire digestive system. And get this, weight loss can be a side effect. And with continued use of the tea, you can experience clearer, healthier, younger looking skin, increased energy, and a happier outlook on life. So if you're tired of being tired, get the Life Change Tea at getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. And like me, you'll be glad you did.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of Fade to Black by just calling 605-562-4482. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Just call 605-562-4482. You can listen to me, Jimmy Church, on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Go Beckley Tappy.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why Fade to Black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. And for those of you that are watching the video feeds out there of the bunker, I am texting with somebody in the YouTube chat room. So I'll leave it to that person to disclose. It's a lot of fun. Now, and Dr. Greer, I wanted to say this to everybody that is listening tonight. You and I, over the years, all of our conversations, we have nothing pre-scripted. There's no questions that you have submitted to me or me to you. Everything is just a conversation. And I think the audience really appreciates the way that we always do our shows together. But they need to know that you and I are not like behind the scenes, right? Just discussing everything ahead of time. We don't do that. We never have, and we never will. And to that note, I want to talk about Richard Doty for a second, and how you have constantly warned us about deception out there, and certainly we talked about fake news earlier in the broadcast tonight. What do we do with a guy like Richard Doty, who is a professional disinformation agent? How do you put on those discernment glasses and figure out what to trust and what not to?
You never trust one person with anything. So it's a little bit like when you're doing any scientific or investigative process, you need points of corroboration. So what I have always looked to is, for example, when I interviewed him, there were things that I knew to ask with the correct language. And the fact that he knew what the language was, I knew he knew. Does that make sense? He knew what a deceptive INW was, which is a false flag in pop culture. He knew, but I also had people who he may or may not know, I doubt that he does, who also knew of the places and the events he spoke of. So, but they didn't want to go on camera because they're terrified, frankly. So the way I approach this with anyone, and this is going to be a very good advice to anyone who tries to do this going into the future, you cannot rely only on one person. You have to take it within the context of what do they say, is it consistent, and are there other points of corroboration that you've been able to find that are solid outside that person's control that they don't even know about. If that's not the case, and I'm not going to name any names, but there are people that we initially got approached when we were doing these briefings for Congress that we had to excuse from the meeting because there were inconsistencies, that's a polite way of saying falsehoods, in what they were sharing with us that we were able to prove. So that's the way you approach it, because you're correct. People who are in the intelligence community are trained to provide counterintelligence, deceptive information, and this is immodest for me to say, but any of those people who talk with me, A, they know I know what I'm talking about, B, they know I have hundreds of points of corroboration in top secret places that I've met with, that if they try to Zoom us, we're going to catch them. So it's most people like that aren't going to approach someone on my team or myself because they know we're going to find them out. But the other part is you just have to be sure that what they're sharing with you are things that you have gotten from other sources that aren't part of their clique, that they probably don't even know. And that, in fact, they don't know. And that way you have a chance that you're going to not get stung. Now, with that said, I mean, anyone is fallible, and certainly me, but you take precautions against that.
Now,
and that's why I'm very confident that the material that we have received and then released from him were things that conform with accurate information that I've gotten from other sources.
Now, you just read my mind, okay? I appreciate that. In that, I know that the stuff that's in the film with Doty, you're confident about, and I understand that. Was there stuff that did make it into the film where you just went, oh, come on, man? I don't, I'd have to go look at the entire interview. There were a couple of things that had a bit of questionable character to it, right?
But they were really off topic. But the things that I felt were really explosive, including, if you look at his full interview, it's on my YouTube channel. It talks about how Area 51 is, the so-called Area 51 is structured, the Cash Landrum case. Anyone who knows UFO history, back in the early 80s, this object went down near Houston that irradiated, put radiation out on these poor people. He was the principal investigator. He knew the details of that. He knew that it was an actual manned flight by humans, but that it was an ET structure we were trying to get to work, but we couldn't get the power source, so we very stupidly put a nuclear-powered energy plant on it that had a malfunction that spewed radiation on people. The intelligence community was very happy for the UFO community and the public to think it was, quote, a UFO, i.e. implication being ET, but it was actually a malfunction of one of our own, and it was being flown out of the Nellis Range to a place in Texas, and it had malfunctioned, and it was escorted by helicopters. If you look up the Cash Landrum case, you'll see these details. So there were a lot of cases that we knew the details on that he was able to confirm, so I have a high confidence factor in that. I certainly, when he's talking about the fact that they took bags of cash to people in the media to cut cooperation. We know that's true. After all, I was offered $2 billion by the head of Army Intelligence personally in 1992, May of 92, which I said, no, thank you, I'm not for sale, but I was offered it. And that was when $1 billion was a lot of money, I say jokingly. But the other part of it, where he talks about counterintelligence operations, staging abduction events to hide a man-made event, I have heard that from more than a dozen people who have been operationally on those teams, but who have never wanted to be on camera. I kind of backed him into that question, and I think it surprised him. You could tell he's sort of like shocked, but he confirms that that's what they did. And we know that. I unfortunately discovered this in 93, 94, 95, after I started doing stuff, briefing Bill Clinton, CIA director and stuff. I had people who were on these teams and at that level of operations telling me, because actually I didn't know that. I thought all the experiences people were reporting were actually various ET experiences. And I didn't know there was a counterintelligence operation going on that was hoaxing a lot of cases for their, quote, psychological warfare value. In other words, fear factor, to scare the hell out of people. But also, more specifically, to cover up something someone saw. For example, I know of a case, he alludes to it, in Washington State, where some people late at night saw us, humans, test flying an anti-gravity disc, and in order to give their minds a cover story, an abduction team was sent out and staged an abduction so that they thought what they had seen was an ET craft. It was a way of covering up that they had seen something that we, the military of the United States, did not want those civilians who stumbled across that event to see. And that has happened quite a few times.
I never had Richard Doty on the show as a guest, but he did call in one night, Dr. Greer, on an open lines night. And we ended up talking for about 45 minutes. One of the things that he said during this conversation was that there were two leading people, researchers, authors, two leaders on the conference tour, the UFO conference tour, that were currently disinformation agents. And by him stating that, first off, it caused quite the stir in the UFO community. Obviously, my phones are ringing from different people going, who do you think it is? And is that disinformation? Is that set in place?
It's not disinformation, but here's the thing. I liked what Eleanor Roosevelt said when she said, and listen carefully, small minds talk about people. Mediocre minds talk about events. Great minds talk about ideas. I really don't like talking about people. I prefer to talk about ideas or maybe events. But what he said was true. And I've known that for a long time. I don't talk about I don't like all the mudslinging that goes on in this field. So I just like to say, look, here's what we can do. Here's the facts, the evidence, the proof, the material I have found, whether it be with the Disclosure Project and Unacknowledged or with Contact, and try to keep it positive. I don't see anything to be gained from muckraking. And, there are a couple of folks who have passed away that when I was meeting with Prince Hans Anna von Liechtenstein, he flat out told me they were on the payroll. He was shoveling a lot of money to them. They were putting out terrifying stuff that was serving the agenda of fear related to contact abductions and home invasion type things. And he flat out told me that. And I said, well, why are you funding them? He says, because they're getting the message out so that people will hate the aliens so that we can have World War III. He literally flat out said that to me in 1994. So you can, it's like when I start, years ago I was talking about Admiral Wilson, Tom Wilson, that I briefed with the former, and he's passed away, Edgar Mitchell, at the Pentagon. And those papers leaked out, as you know, last year. I think I was on your show talking about it.
That's right.
And that meeting did happen. I had mentioned that for 20 years, that, people at that level had been denied access, had been threatened. I actually named the meeting because he had retired at that point. And people thought, Dr. Greer's got to be making up a story here. I'm not making any of this up, all right? One thing about an emergency doctor, your word is bond, and, it's life and death. I mean, I turn to a colleague and say, this person has a ruptured aorta in their chest, you're not making up BS. So, but some of this stuff is so crazy, and so the truth is less believable than the fiction people have been sold. That's the problem. I mean, honestly, the truth about this entire subject is much more bizarre than the fiction most of people have been forced to believe.
There's another aspect of the film, and I can't wait to hear everybody's reactions to this, is that you have got, I didn't count, but I'm just going to use a round number and say about a dozen. You have a dozen experiencers from different CE5s around the world that come in and speak about their interactions. But these are from people that I have never seen on screen before. And was that a conscious effort on your part to bring in the every person, right? Just members of the community.
Yes, absolutely. Because I think that's the other thing. I mean, obviously, I've become sort of a figment, depressingly. I get stopped at every airport, any store. I get stopped everywhere, but that's not important. I tell it's all these other people. And this is why people say, "What can I do? What can I do?" Go to ce5film.com. I don't care if you put in $1 to support the getting the word out on this. The so-called marketing, that's not being paid for by the distributor. That's being paid by us. So let me give you a number. I won't say what film it was. It was a big indie documentary that was done back some years ago. It was not on UFOs, it was on another, but kind of progressive subject. And it was a $500,000 production. They spent $5 million to get the word out, but it reached the entire planet. I won't say which one. I know the producers and the people who did it. For unacknowledged, we only had a few $1,000s. And you have to understand, to penetrate social media, to get the word out, to create this 1% effect, we need support. So there's two ways people can do that. They can sign up for our email list at SiriusDisclosure.com, SIRIUS Disclosure.com, and become sort of a guerrilla, viral internet social media person posting stuff for us. You can go to ce5film.com and make a contribution of whatever amount, or you can. The other thing you can do is form your own team. When this film drops globally, it'll be a global release on April 7th, even though the premiere, which I'll look forward to seeing you at, will happen later. People can have screenings of that with their families or a few friends, even if they're under lockdown, and then practice going out and doing this in small groups. So even under the conditions we're facing now, people can create the change by coming together. And the magic in it is that it's not hard to do. It's fun to do. The experiences are beautiful, but it actually affects everyone in your area that don't even know you're doing it. They've done these studies where they've sent meditators into cities. And if there's 1% of the population in that city meditating in deep meditation, crime rates fall, ER visits fall, violence of all type, spousal abuse, domestic violence, they all go down. And these studies have been reproduced over and over, but it's just 1%. It's not 51%. So I tell people, there is an enormous power we have, both individually, but then collectively in a relatively small number when we align in a positive way. And if we do that, it's going to lead to the ultimate, I call it the ultimate disclosure, and that is mass contact. And I see a tweet on my feed, someone says, why don't they just show themselves, everyone? It's putting the cart before the horse. They don't want to do that and stampede panic. They want us to invite them. They're waiting for a proper invitation. I know that sounds old-fashioned, but I'm from the South and grew up in a generation where you didn't invade someone's home without an invitation. So, that's the answer to this man who said, how come the ETs don't just make their presence known to the whole planet? They're waiting for us to do it. Because if they did it forcibly, it would look like an act of invasion. And, by the way, the intelligence community, and unfortunately 90% of ufology, would spin it that way. So I think that they're too smart to stumble into that trap.
Again, you read my mind. Well played, but I'm still going to ask the question, which is,
okay,
what about the Department of Defense, the Pentagon, and the other agencies in Washington? Are they okay with the release of this film? Have they spoken to you about it?
They're very worried. In the sense that the ones who are supportive of what we've been doing, say, go for it. Because there are a lot of, I call them the white hats, the people who want to not have this change happen without it being under their thumb, under their control, know that the ultimate disclosure and the way that this will get out of their control is millions of people making contact and understanding the principles of entanglement and consciousness and contact. And when millions of people get that message and start doing it, then it's completely taken out of their hands. And that's been one of my chief objectives, is we need to put this entire issue in the hands of ordinary good people of the earth, which is most of us, not the sociopaths and frankly psychopaths, who are often in these highly classified projects who have horrific agendas that are violent, that are divisive, etc. So I think that this is a real challenge because we're a population now, in no small part because of the technologies we have, where we've become kind of passive consumers, and nobody does anything anymore. They all want to just sit and look at videos on their smartphone or computer or TV. I think that this is a call, sort of a movement to say, why don't we take control of this? And why don't we go out and make direct contact? And when enough people do, when there's a critical mass of people who do that, the heavens will be rent asunder. The skies will open up. But the ETs are waiting for us, a critical mass of humans, to do that within the context of not just, seeing dolphins at SeaWorld jump through a hoop for them, but a genuine, sincere desire that's pure-hearted to make contact, peaceful contact with these various civilizations, of which there are dozens, hundreds, perhaps thousands. And I think that our task is, why don't we take control of this instead of expecting someone else to do it? This whole top-down business that we're so indoctrinated with authority figures in politics and media, it's a lot of nonsense, frankly, because, this country wasn't founded from the top down. We were a bunch of ragtag people taking on King George,
right,
crying out loud. So, we need to understand that the civil rights movement wasn't being an edict from the president. The president was dragged kicking and screaming into doing things for civil rights because of the force of the civil rights movement in the 60s. So I think we have to understand the other thing is how change happens. Everyone knows our planet is in trouble. How do we fix it? Well, everyone needs to understand we got to fix it. Don't sit around waiting for Elon Musk or President Trump or some other person to fix it. They're not going to fix this problem. The people have to fix it.
Is the digital world and the digital platforms is that our 1960s, right, where it is out of anybody else's control, and that's what you are able to take advantage of?
For now, my worry is that if our society begins to unravel too much, that will get suspended. And to be honest with you, even on my social media channels, we routinely have items that are blocked. We have, for example, when I put out the information that Powlett had, it's on my YouTube channel, that Siemens, working with the CIA, were making these chips, putting in people that they were tracking, that he was part of in the 70s and 80s. that had like 750,000 views in a week. In one day, it went down to 6,700 views. They just took zeros off. So what I tell people is that there's still a lot of monkey business with the digital, but it's our best hope. We're certainly blacklisted, or I am, from the big media. I mean, if I stood up and said, they're a national security threat and we don't know how they operate, and tell, 18 lies in 5 minutes, like you have with the folks at TSA, I'm sure I would be on the New York Times list to be interviewed. But if you put the truth out, you're going to be blacklisted. So how do you work around that?
Right.
Well, you and me and the internet, but also the grassroots. See, this is the thing that it really confounded the intelligence community, is that I've always had very, very little faith in big government, big corporation, military, etc. I have a lot of faith in the average Joe, because I grew up an incredibly poor, frankly neglected boy in the South with no shoes, and put myself through high school and college and med school. I understand where people have to come from and that we can do that. And I think that, a lot of people think I was born with a silver spoon in my mouth. It was more like a boot up the butt. But, I just think that people have to understand that we have the ability within ourselves to do this transformation, and it's a big mistake. And so the CE5 initiative, this whole Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind film, is my effort, the effort of thousands of people who worked on it and contributed to get this message out to the public so that the public takes responsibility and we all pull ourselves up together and get out of this passive mindset. And you're right, the digital universe has helped that a lot. And let's move through that before a window closes, as Danny Sheehan alludes to in the film. But I think that the other thing we need is people to get online and support it. The CE5film.com site is information, but also the crowdfunding site. And I always point out to people, we don't partner with big corporate sponsors or ads or anything. It's all grassroots donations. And so all that revenue goes into either the production or trying to get the word out. And so that's the other way that people can help. And then spread the word to people. When this film comes out on April 7th, I hope everyone listening will not only tell everyone in their social media network, but everyone they know that this is something that people need to take a look at. It's fun. I think you'll admit it's a fun film. It's great music. The music editing was amazing. It has amazing images of contact and stories and great information. So, it's a fun thing to do. And if you're stuck at home anyway, it's 2 hours well spent.
Thank you so much, Dr. Greer. We are just 3 weeks out from the digital release, and you've got to be excited. It must feel like Christmas Eve.
Oh, it is fun. Yeah, I want to point out to people, because someone just tweeted, well, nobody can go to theaters. This is not going to be in theaters. This is on, so if you're at home with your computer or your internet TV, you can see this. So someone just lambasted me saying, what are you, crazy? We can't go out to the movies. On my Twitter feed, I'm going, you missed the whole point of the show. But you're not, we're not going to do this in a theater yet. We may have a few theaters around the country if things get back to normal. But we're definitely going to have the premiere. Everyone who's been waiting to come to this premiere, including you, Jimmy, will do it. I don't know when it'll be, but as soon as I know, you'll know.
I got to say, before I say goodnight, I got about 15 seconds. The premiere of Unacknowledged and that packed theater and the excitement and the vibe that was there was so much fun, and I can't wait to do it again with Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind. So when the premiere does happen here in Los Angeles, of course, we'll make the announcement here, and I'll see you there on the red carpet. Thank you so much, Dr. Greer.
Thank you.
Have a great night. Be safe out there.
You too.
This is Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. I'm going to take a quick break right here. I'm going to open up the phone lines, 747-228-2051, 747-228-2051. I'll be right back after this short break. The film is Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind. The link is right there at jimmychurchradio.com. CE5 film. That's the number 5 FadeToBlack.com. I'll be right back. Stay with us.
Vivica Fox here, and you are listening to my boy, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black, and I take Life Change Tea supplements every single day. It's what I do. Click on their banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
When you take the beans from Central America with dashes of Indonesian and African mixed in and then roast it to the dark side of Fade to Black, you create the ultimate brew of fringe. Introducing the Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Yes, River Moon's darkest customized roast was created for the love of Fade to Black. The alchemy of masterful roasting and smoking the beans is in every sip of this full-bodied, dark Java. I need my coffee dark, deep, with distinct bittersweet chocolate highlights, just like the bunker. Leaning further into the darkness of the roast is Fade to Black blend from River Moon Coffee. Just click on the banner at JimmyChurchRadio.com and use the promo code F2BBLEND for 15% off of your order today. Go Beckley Teppy.
Hi, folks. CBD is the home run hitter for health right now. Why, you ask? Because of what it does for the body. Unfortunately, I can't tell you all about the benefit. You know, there's reasons. Do your due diligence and log on to AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com. Ancient Life Oil uses organic ingredients and is blended in coconut oil for some of the best benefits. Legal in 50 states and non-psychoactive. Log on to AncientLifeOil.com. That's AncientLifeOil.com.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Erica, Brittany, Gabby, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRARadio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Thank you, Dr. Stephen Greer. That was a great, great, great conversation. I'm opening up the phone lines right now, 747-228-2051, 747-228-2051. I am bringing in calls right now. That didn't take too long. If I put you on hold, just stay right there. Don't hang up, all right? All right. And let's go here first. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
No, this is Brendan from Orlando.
Hi, Brendan. How are you, man?
I'm great, man. Awesome show.
Yeah, that was a pretty good conversation. The thing that I appreciate with Stephen is that, and I wanted to stress this point with everybody. Him and I trust each other, and we are able to just go into the conversation, and where it goes, it goes. And tonight was definitely one of those conversations, and I really enjoyed it. What stood out for you, Brendan?
Just in general, I like his forthrightness, his honesty. He doesn't try to BS anybody, and that I've been following him for 5 years, and kind of fell into him through the disclosure project, and that's how I got into CE5. And actually, I was doing one of his CE5 tapes just to like check it out to see what it was all about in my living room. Put my headphones on, and before you know it, I was having an outer body experience and having contact with an extraterrestrial or interdimensional being. You know, I don't know exactly which it was, but it happened totally out of the blue. It wasn't something I was expecting, but after that experience, it was like there was a connection made, and every time I went outside, I'd look up and I would see a ship or have some sort of all kinds of different paranormal stuff started happening after that.
Have you seen the trailer for the film?
Yes, I have.
And what do you think?
I don't know. I didn't have a big opinion about the trailer, but
well, the reason why I bring it up, because the trailer suggests how stunning the film is, right? That this is definitely production value, right? This is up to the standards of all of the film industry. It is right there, and I hope that comes across in the trailer, because what the film is, it's just amazing to look at, and that's why I was asking what you thought of the trailer. It's visual effects.
Well, that's awesome, because the other ones were kind of more documentary style.
Right.
It's good to know that this one is a little higher end, it sounds like.
Yeah, you'll see it. And after you check out the film, after April 7th, call back in on Fader Night and let us know what you think.
Absolutely. And thanks a lot, Jimmy.
Yeah, thank you, Brendan. Behave and be well and be safe, okay?
All right. Will do. Thank you.
Thank you. That's a great call right there. And the CE5 protocol side of things, I just like everybody else, and by the way, when I put you on hold, you just stay right there, okay? All right? You have to go out and experience it. That's what you have to do. If you've never done a CE5, you've got to just go out and do it. Get together with a group and go and experience it, because there are those out there that hear us, talking about this. And certainly I was brought in from those out there that were not only doing these night watches, but bringing in the CE5 aspect of it. And I was like, okay, all right. I get it now. I didn't get it then. And if you get an opportunity, go out and definitely interact and see who you can connect with up there in the stars. It's absolutely incredible. With that, let's go back to the phones. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Lori Peters.
Hi, Lori. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
How are you, Jimmy? How are you, Steven?
That's my husband, David.
Hey, man. How are you? All right. So,
I am great.
What'd you guys think of the conversation tonight?
We just turned you on, and I just called you, and I missed it. He was wanting to ask.
I saw Stephen Greer, and I saw Jimmy Church, and I said, oh, my God, this is amazing. I love both of you. I love you, Jimmy. You are amazing. I've always actually wondered, recently with all the coronavirus stuff and all that, and I don't want to get into all that, I thought, in my head, could this be something that was spread from something else, maybe perhaps anything to do with UFOs or whatnot? I've always thought about that, I guess.
Yeah, and of course that's gonna pop up. Okay, oh man,
it's a touchy subject. Absolutely.
Yeah, well, it is. It certainly is, and we have to we have to look at all aspects of what may be going on. One thing for sure, there is no question about it. The world today is different than it was a couple of months ago. It's just different. It's absolute. Why? We have to try to figure that out. In the months and years ahead, we are going to look back and talk about this, just like other seminal events in world history. And we're going through this now, and we are going to learn from this. We have been stunned into submission.
In so many ways, Stunned.
Yes.
It's amazing how humans can react over something that is like this, what we're going through right now. And it's in good ways. People come together, in bad ways and such with the, hoarding of everything. I wish we all could just get along together and always listen to you, all the time.
Well, thank you for that, Stephen. What was your wife's name? Oh, Lori. Yes, Lori and Stephen.
Yeah, Lori and David, yes.
Or David. Where are you guys calling from?
I'm calling from Lakeland, Georgia. Georgia represent.
Right on. Well, thank you for that. Thank you for that.
Yes, sir.
And we will. We're going to do our coronavirus town hall tomorrow night, and opening up the phone lines to everybody around the country and around the world. It's going to be something that we just need to do. We're going to do it, and and we're going to move forward together.
Absolutely, and shout out to Rita. I always see you on Twitter. You both. Yes, this is Jenny Clint. This is my brother. Nice to hear your voice, brother, on the phone.
Thank you, guys.
Have a good night, my man.
Thank you, guys.
Fade or not, right here. Fade or not for life. I love you guys.
That's what I'm talking about. Hey, Lori.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
You're awesome.
Be safe, okay?
Your wife, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Have a great night.
Bye, guys.
Good night.
You too. Bye, guys.
Wow, that's a little Fade or Not party going on there in Georgia, and that is really cool. But yes, this situation that we find ourselves in is a very, very interesting one, and I don't know the who, what, and the why. I don't think any of us do. With that, let's go back to the phones. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
How are you this evening, Mr. Jimmy Church?
No way. Don't even tell me this is Steve from Bluefield.
Yes, it is, Mr. Church.
Man. You're just calling in so you can watch Twitter light up. But, man, I can't believe I'm talking to you. And how long has it been? Oh, my goodness.
It's been a while. But I'm always listening, brother.
That's all I want to hear from you. That's all I want to hear. How have you been?
I've been wonderful, Jim. Wonderful. No corona in West Virginia, buddy.
Yeah, that's right. You guys are the last state, I think, right?
That's right.
Are you guys going to close down the borders?
I mean, it's just it's like I went to a little bit further east of Bluefield to around about the middle part of Virginia. And it's just a different world from east of Roanoke, Virginia, around the Blacksburg, the Virginia Tech campus there. From there west to the West Virginia border, and it's just like it's night and day. Everyone's still active out. I mean, our restaurants are still, packed at lunch. I don't live in a, Bluefield, not Los Angeles by no means, but we have enough people that a restaurant can get crowded real quick, and people are still pouring into the restaurants, and we live in our life just like it's not even here. I mean, it's just insane to me to watch some of these people and what they've done.
Yeah, and I can't blame them because the media has scared everybody half to death. Yeah,
that's right. I saw a chart. I think a gentleman showed me the other day. The swine flu killed like 44 or 5,000 people before they made any kind of announcement about the swine flu.
Yeah, and there is
crazy.
Yeah, I totally get it. And watching the world, this is not a United States thing. This is not a New York thing or a Los Angeles thing. This is a worldwide situation. I don't know how many countries I announced tonight that are shutting down their borders and international travel. This is something that I can't even gauge. I can't put it into perspective. I can't do it. And to watch the stock market do its thing, I'm just shocked. And I know why.
I'm very shocked as well.
I know why. It's the media. The media has done this.
The media.
Yeah, the media has done this. The media has done this.
If the media had jumped on this, and I mean, they created the panic. I mean, it's just, and then some of these doctors getting on TV and saying that, you know, if we don't get a hold of this, you know, like 12% of the population is going to die, you know, in the first, you know, 6 months, and then after that we'll have another, like 30% pass away after that, and then, you know, 40% of the health workers. I mean, it's insane. And we have a belief here in West Virginia and southwestern Virginia that we have already seen this virus. I mean, I've spoken to a lot of respiratory people. Both of my wife's sister works in the medical field. Mm-hmm. And one of my wife's sisters is actually a respiratory therapist. And she believes also with me that they strongly believe that they saw this virus in around late November, December, and the middle of January, where people had flu-like symptoms but were not testing positive for the flu, Jimmy, and having complications with respiratory, but would not test positive for the flu, but had flu-like symptoms. And that's why I don't think I think it's already run its course through this part of the country.
Well, okay, let's say it stays the same in West Virginia, at least for the time being, and I hope that it does. Have you bought your toilet paper? Tell me the truth.
I mean, I go to Sam's maybe once a month and stock up.
Anyway.
As usual. I haven't. I mean, and I keep a large amount anyway. So it's not, I mean, I didn't go just specially to buy toilet paper or hand sanitizer or, you know, Clorox wipes or whatever. I've not made a special trip for that. No.
No, Rita makes me buy Clorox wipes once a month anyway. I'm telling you right now.
That's what we do. We go to Sam's and I buy that great big, like, 6-pack of Clorox wipes. Right. 2 of those. And, I mean, that lasts us, I mean, that holds us over probably, you know, several months.
That's right. That's right.
And it's insane. And, you know, we get bottled water here, but, I mean, we have hundreds of freshwater springs that, people literally that don't have wells or have good wells that are on well water. I mean, you know, that we have probably, I would say maybe 20% of the population in the southern part of West Virginia have well water, and aren't connected to a city, you know, water system.
Right.
And you know, when I go hunting in the fall and winter, and as long as the spring hasn't, you know, frozen up, which if it's a good running spring, I don't care how cold it's going, you know, it's not going to stop the flow of that water. It's got a lot of ice, and drink straight from the spring. And it makes bottled water taste like dirt.
Man, I miss talking to you, Steve. I really do. Man,
it's crazy, Jimmy.
Yeah, man. Don't take a year to call into this show next time.
No, but I'm always listening, brother. I'm always listening. But if you put this in perspective for people, and I kind of gauge it also too, Jimmy, is if the media has this much control over the majority of the population with influential, statements, I understand why the government now hasn't released any kind of UFO information.
Yeah, I thought that same thought.
I almost, when all the researchers and everyone is screaming, we can take it, the people of the American, people can take whatever, whatever the truth is. Then after this whole ordeal just over this virus, I almost have to say no. I don't think that the American people in the world can take that information.
Yeah, I was feeling pretty comfortable a couple of years ago after the New York Times article where I thought, well, okay, nobody's freaking out. Well, I kind of feel a little different today. I do, man.
I do too.
I'm with you, Steve. You've always been the voice of reason, man, and never change.
It's crazy, brother.
Hey,
Crazy.
Steve, give it to me right now.
Jimmy Church, brother. Thanks for the time.
It's Bunk Steve. Hey, man, it's great to hear your voice. Take care of the family, man, and don't be a stranger. We love you.
Have a good one, brother.
You too.
Love you, brother.
Bunk Steve from West Virginia. I cannot believe I just took that phone call. Man, I miss that. I miss that voice so much. And wow. I don't even know what to say. Thank you so much for the phone call, Steve, and take care of the family. And I look forward to the next time you call in. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Hey, Jimmy. This is Josh in California.
Hey, Josh from California. How are you?
Good. You know how whenever we get one of these big things that happens, one of these crises or something, there's always a suspicion that it's to cover up something or to distract us from something bigger so that we're not paying attention to that, right? You've heard that idea, right?
I've said that. What do you mean I feel that?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I think I know what this is all about.
What's that?
I think I know what this is actually trying to distract us from. Well, for the last 4 years, I've been working on my book. I called in and told you about this before, Ancient Psychedelia, Alien Gods and Mushroom Goddesses. Well, I just got that book today, and I'm supposed to, start promoting it and start telling everybody about it, and the New World Order comes in and just diverts everybody's attention away from it.
So it's your fault. So it's your fault. That's what you're saying.
Well, they're trying to cover up the release of my book and to derail it. I mean, it's obvious.
Well, but Josh, see, this is where you got to put it to the man. More people are going to be on the internet than ever before because they're going to be at home with nothing to do. This is when you take advantage of it. You got to do the play.
That's true.
Yeah, you got to do the play.
That's true. That's very wise, Jimmy. I appreciate that.
Hey, Josh, that's what I'm here for. That's what I'm here for, man.
Thanks. Yeah, well, I wanted to call in and just, I want to tell you about this, and I wanted to figure out a way I could get you one of these books because I'm able to ship them out now, and it's actually in my hands. So,
okay, well,
I'm going to start doing,
Yeah, simple enough, man. Just shoot me an email, jimmy@jimmychurchradio.com, and I'll tell you where to send it. All right?
Okay, I'll do that. Great. I'm also putting together a DVD, and that's going to be out really soon, too. So I wanted to let you know about that. It's going to be 10 hours, and I'm going to be have about an hour and a half of it free on YouTube for people to check out and get an idea of some of the work that I'm doing.
Absolutely, Josh. And don't forget, shoot me that email, okay?
I will. Thank you. Have a good evening, Jimmy.
Yeah, you too, Josh. Thank you.
Okay, take care.
It's a great phone call right there from another Fadernaut, and I'm going to see how much time do I have. Let's see. Can I bring in two? I'm going to try to squeeze this in. Let's go this direction next. Oh, man. Look, I can't get to all these phone calls. Hi, you're live on Fade to Black. Who's calling?
Hi, Jimmy. This is Dana. How are you tonight? What a wonderful show. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dana. Where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Reno, Nevada.
Reno, Nevada. Now, have you seen the trailer for Close Encounters of the Fifth Kind?
I actually got to see it with the live premiere, and Dr. Greer was in the chat room, and so then we got a link sent over to do a Discord. So then we've been talking, sending pictures, and it's been a very pleasant chat. And I'm learning the internet because I'm not very good with all these apps. So it's been a real treat, and to have him on tonight was really cool.
Yeah,
so,
it was a great conversation, and. I want your comment on this because you're familiar with Dr. Greer. If I go back to my first interviews with him, like 7 years ago, and the way the conversations have evolved and the last couple of years, he's really starting to open up where he wasn't that way before. Do you feel the same vibe that I'm talking about?
Oh, totally. Yeah, because I discovered his work with Thrive. And that's because I ended up at a show. I think I talked to you a couple of months ago, and I met Foster Gamble there. And that's how I found Dr. Greer's work. And the evolution of a lot of different researchers is taking off and being noticed in the public's eye. And so, to me, that's just an amazing thing to see it unfold with Dr. Greer's work and many other researchers. Whether you agree with them or not, everyone has a little piece to bring to the table. And, yeah, I think Dr. Greer is doing an amazing job.
Yeah, 100%.
Bringing out
100%.
Yeah, 100%. And I wanted to know what his take is maybe on, I've been studying another gentleman by the name of Paul Stamets, the mushroom guy. Mm-hmm. And I wonder if there's a connection between, because mycelium is an ancient, it's like the oldest species on the planet. So then we have these ETs that are, they've been around in the communication. I wonder if there is some kind of connection, no pun intended, between mycelium and these ETs, interdimensional. And, like the healing of the honeybees and things like that is bringing to light a lot of stuff. And I wonder if there's a surge in consciousness just recently.
Yeah,
and if the ETs aren't helping with that.
Yeah, those are all very valid points. And, but I would also say, isn't the mushroom alien? Just looking at it.
I know, just looking at it.
I'm just saying. We go to Zeta Reticuli, we step off the ship, and we take a look around. What are we going to see?
It's like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. If you were looking at that thing up, you're like, whoa.
Yeah, yes, exactly. Dana, thank you for the phone call. And
no problem, man. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. The premiere is April 7th, and I look forward to hearing from you after you watch the film. Oh, I wanted to ask you really quick. So Las Vegas shutting down, right?
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah,
can you tell? Can you tell? Is this?
Well, I'm in Reno, so let's just say my girlfriend works at GSR, and it's affecting the entire crew.
Yes.
She's freaking out. I was supposed to go to a Flogging Molly concert, and that got canceled. I'm just like, oh.
Oh man, not Flogging Molly. Oh.
Yeah, Flogging Molly, dude. I was looking forward to Rebels of the Sacred Heart to play, but oh well.
Are you a mosh pit kind of person?
I was in the mosh pit with Skillet and Seven Dust when they came. Yeah, that was pretty cool. It was the day that Tool released their album, and I wore a Tool shirt just to represent, and that was a great show.
And I love Flogging Molly. Anything Flogging Molly, I am full on.
Yeah.
All right, Dana.
Totally.
Thank you so much. Yeah, you too. Thank you for the phone call. Be safe up there, okay?
I will. I'm prepared.
Right on.
All right, man.
Thank you, Dana.
Bye.
And with that, I'm going to bring in, oh, man, I don't have the time. I'm at the end of the show. Oh, man, hold on. I'm just going to do this for fun. You're the last call of the night. Who's calling?
Hi, Jimmy. This is Kay calling from Detroit. How you doing?
Hey, Kay, I'm running credits in 10 seconds. I just wanted you to say Go Beckley Tappy. Say Go Beckley Tappy for me.
Okay, and I'll call back tomorrow. Go Beckley Tappy. I don't even know if I can say that straight tonight because everything's kind of got me goofed up with my sandbox. My phone is just flipping out. I got kicked out of the sandbox. I can't tell you how many times.
Hey, Kay.
And trying to get back in there. So, yeah, Go Beckley Tappy. There, I got it out straight this time.
That is perfect. Thank you so much, Kay from Detroit. Behave and be well and be safe.
All right, love you, Jimmy. Bye-bye.
And with that, I just had to do that. I just had to do that. This is Fade to Black. I want to thank Dr. Stephen Greer for an amazing conversation tonight. Fade to Black's executive producers, Rita Camarion. Show is produced by Hilton J. Palm, Renee, Dennis, and Bob. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vitoa, Mark D. Kovar. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy. SpaceboyMusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network, and syndication is KGRA, The Planet. This broadcast owned and copyrighted 2020 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network, Inc. It cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black or the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. I want to remind everybody, tomorrow night, right here, is the Fade or Not Coronavirus Town Hall. We're going to open up the phone lines, and we're going to do it tomorrow night live right here on the Game Changer Network. Until then, I'm your host, Jimmy Church. I want everybody to be safe. Go Beckley Tappy.